Start streaming and start recording. And start recording. Okay, now, yeah, we're definitely live now. Okay, now, yeah,
Yep,
we're
I see.
definitely live now. Okay, now, yeah,
Yep,
we're
I see.
definitely live now.
Yep, I see. Yep, I see.
I need to turn. Actually, I'm just gonna kill the Twitch thing. I'll have
Don't worry
faith.
about it.
It's like I'll have faith, but we're alive. All right. Oh, this is crazy. If you could for me, can you get the link to it and send it to me?
What's up?
Yeah, can you get the link to this video? I'm probably gonna be relying on you to send me stuff back and forth.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then after this, you can just post it onto your channel or to your Facebook or whatever. Yeah, just post it. Don't even give context. Oh right, man, to be doing this, it's crazy. It really is.
It is.
I don't even know how to. You know what? I think I do have to have Twitch open because how did I not get the chat?
There's a way you could do it on OBS, but I don't know if you have it set up.
Yeah, I don't think I have it set up.
OBS, but I don't know if you have it set up.
Oh, hey, there you go. I can just mute myself. Probably the best thing I could have done. All right. Okay. There you go. So, what's on my mind? Posted here. Oh, right. I know there's a lot of fluff for the beginning of this conversation, but for everybody, everybody out there and stuff, everybody, welcome to the first episode of Gaming Over 30. This podcast is mainly just about kind of like this life after, turning 30, just what's different. How does it like to grow up being a gamer, from our early ages or wherever we started, and then how gaming has changed over this time. Just like, or just our feelings of it and what are the things that we noticed that has really changed for us. And that's kind of what we wanted to talk about today, is really just talk about like, what are the things that we've even noticed, like, and kind of really analyze ourselves, right? Like, it's just like so much has changed and everything. And one of the things that that really kind of hit home for me, and I'm not sure if I told you this, Chris, is, well, I did tell you I went to Comic-Con, right? But
Right.
I didn't tell you really the experience between like Comic-Con now and like Comic-Con before, because this was the second time I went to it, but it was a long gap. It'd be like 11-year gap. I think we went back in 2011, 2012. Like, I was barely, I was always able to drink, but not too much. That's kind of like my earlier years where I wasn't really even touching a lot of alcohol or beer, even though I could drink.
Right.
Everything was new. Like, I were excited to see people. I got to see people from Street Fighter Tekken. I was so engrossed in all the things that we were able to do, and we only did the 4 pass. I didn't even get the preview night, but we were able to go, and it was very exciting. Like, at that time, like, I just remembered it as being a really pleasant experience for something that I never thought what it could have been. But this time we went just me and my wife, and we've had fun. It was a lot of stuff to remember, and we feel like we have more control over stuff. Like, we got a better hotel. We're not really shy of walking anywhere. We're good at trying to find stuff that's not really around. But we noticed like how we felt about the convention itself was vastly different, because I think we noticed a lot of stuff where like, oh, there's a lot of lines just to buy stuff, or oh, there's a lot of lines to like pass something to me, like a flyer or something. Like, it seemed like a lot of more advertising stuff, even though I was like, oh yeah, I could buy this cool thing, I could buy this Funko Pop and all that, but there was a lot of buy and a lot less experience stuff. And because it's been such a big space and time before the last time we went, I couldn't tell if I just didn't notice a lot of that stuff, or just, back then there were just a lot of stuff like they wanted you to show like new trailers or new stuff. Like there was like what happened to go to Hall H, like the whole exhibit hall was nothing but like, hey, check out this new thing, hey, try this game that we're doing, or try all this. I think the newest thing that I did was play Street Fighter 6 this time around. And then I saw Gundam: The Witch of Mercury. Like that's the actual prologue episode of that one. That was amazing.
Nice.
Like that was just like an excellent. But then like those were kind of like the highlights of new content outside of what everybody saw in Hall H, like the new Marvel stuff and all that. But it was just like as far as like stuff that was more accessible, I felt like, I can't tell if I'm not as excited or just my preference have changed of what actually gets me excited. And so,
Well, was this also the first year they were back like in person, right? Or did they do it last year?
no, this is the first year since everything happened with COVID that they're actually back in person. And it's in, how would I say, like it makes sense, right? That maybe there might be some stuff that might not be like worked out, but normally Comic-Con plans stuff not like a year in advance, but more than that, right? So it's all like I know they had to readjust and everything, but I mean they're practically pros at this game, and so I'm expecting everything to go well as it did. And I think if anything, the thing that went well was how much pounds I shedded, because I definitely walked a lot trying to get to like just one podcast that I want to listen to. I think one was like Wigs or whatever, and I was like second floor down out the building to the hotel next to it, third floor all the way in the back, and it's like I had to do that in 15 minutes, so it was like power walking to the max.
That's funny.
So that's kind of like how I kind of feel about gaming now, right? It's like I've been gaming since Nintendo age, but my biggest console was Super Nintendo. Like I've played a lot of Nintendo games, but my first own console was the Super Nintendo, Mortal Kombat and all that. So I've been playing games for a while, but my games that I played have also changed. But I think now, being 34 now, like just in the 4 years after becoming 30, a lot of stuff has changed. Mainly the access, being able to buy whatever I want, but still not actually go get whatever I want, kind of thing. It's like when I had no money, I wanted it all. Now I have all the money, at least gaming wise, and I can't buy. I'm like, yeah, $60. I can wait. Black Friday's around the corner. Like, just not that excited. What about you?
The hardest part for me is just finding time at this point. Like you look at a game, especially because I used to love like JRPGs and stuff like that, and it's like, ooh, that's like over 100 hours, maybe 80 hours worth of playtime on average, and that's a lot of time to try and find for that game. Can I find something a little bit shorter, maybe 5-6 hours? I can just go in, go out.
Yeah, like those games that are like, oh, there's only 4 hours to this, man, that's not really worth it. But then now it's like, actually, that means I could actually get one game done this month.
Yeah.
Like, that means I like 5 hours, like the new game Stray, because I heard it was like 4 or 5 hours. I'm all like, actually, I might actually try to play that because it might be something I should be into. It Takes Two wasn't really a long game, and me and Laura able to finish that. I'm like, oh, maybe. Nice. With and we start looking at what are the right parameters to really have us play a game. And like you said, like JRPGs has been a big thing for me, and I just did what was it, Tales of Arise? Like I actually finished that, but I was really hard on it in October, like before the wedding. When the wedding happened, I came back, I didn't touch it for months. Because I ruined my momentum of playing it. And then like I came back, I didn't finish it till June. Where it was like I should be at the end. Like I know it's the RPG hiatus where you always stop at the end. So I know I don't have that much more. And then I realized I still had a lot more to go, but how the game plays and all that, it was very interactive. Like, it kind of got me into it. It got me motivated to keep playing it. So that's why I did. But it's just one of those, like, I used to love RPGs, and now I have a collection of RPGs that I love but have not touched. Some of them I haven't broken the plastic off of it. It's like, it's like I own games, so just like my shelf doesn't look empty. I don't know what I'm doing.
No, it's for me, like, I still to this day haven't finished Persona 5. Like, I started with Persona 5, and I got far into the game at some point, and then I drifted off, and I was like, all right, cool. And then I came back to it. I was like, oh no, what was I doing? What was I going? And then I got back into the rhythm, and I was like, you know what, screw this. Let's start it all over again. So I started it all over again, and then again, I just didn't have time to get back into it. And then I got back. I was like, oh, and then I ended up getting Persona 5 Royale because it came out, and I was
Yeah.
like, oh, I got it for cheap because I was like $20. I was like, cool, I got it, and then I never started it, and then I'm actually really kind of excited about that it's going to Game Pass now because it's supposed to, if I understand correctly, it's supposed to go on the be able to stream on the cloud. So I was like,
Hmm.
you know what, this can make me do it because I could just pop it up on my phone and just do like the grinding and stuff like that on my phone when I'm at work, or if I'm just like having a long time waiting in line and stuff like that. I have my little Razer Kishi and stuff like that to attach to it, and it's like, yeah, this is the way I could play this game, and I'll actually keep playing it instead of playing it for like 10, 15 hours to 30 hours to dropping off, then getting back for another 30 hours, and then dropping off again.
Yeah. I remember begging you to play that game. I was just like, dude, you have to play it. Like, I know you have Xbox, but I don't know, find some way to get a PlayStation or like borrow something. Like, I think I got two, but you got to play the game. Oh, and I remember that. But that kind of brings into another thing, right? Like, the Nintendo Switch and the Steam Deck are really big godsends for that, right? Where you can
Yeah,
play it on the go and stuff, and it's like actual hardware. But with like the Game Pass, it doesn't matter what device you have. It's accessible. You can jump on it, play it on your phone, and RPGs are nice because you don't really need that much like like fast moments or anything. Everything
yeah,
kind of goes at a pace that's like, oh, just hit the same button. Don't worry about it. Even Tales of Arise is like, yeah, I remapped the button controls, but it was still like 4 buttons in the jump button. Like, is that not too much is happening. Long as it registers the movement at some point, then it works out. Right? It's
yeah. The
but
other thing too is like have you changed your like preferred way of gaming, whether it's like still sitting on the couch or playing in bed or anything like that?
to some extent, and maybe this is more like a lifestyle change. Since I'm with my significant other, it's really hard to go somewhere else and play. Like right now, like because before I was in the apartment for such a long time, and that was like after being at my parents' house for such a long time, like until I graduated and everything. So like there was times where like, okay, I like my own space, this is nice, and then it was like, oh well, I like us being together because even if she's not playing, like she wants to still be together, be in the same place, and it's like we've always had that kind of, oh, like I could stay here on the couch with her for a long time. Now that I'm back to being separate, I think it's even harder because it's like, yeah, I do like to having a separate. I do like not waking her up and stuff like that. But I also don't like, oh well, she's downstairs. Sometimes I get up just to check on her, just make sure everything's okay and all that, and then kind of go back and forth. And it's just like, sometimes depending on the game, like I have to be in a very comfortable state. If I'm playing a fighting game and stuff, I'm too into it to really worry about if my butt hurts. But if you're
Yeah,
playing like something else, you're playing Spider-Man, you're playing again RPGs and all that's like sometimes you got to move around. um I think one thing that really has changed with me is like, and then this is probably RPGs in particular, like it doesn't matter if it's JRPG or not, I need voice acting. I need like stuff that's like, oh, I was okay not that it didn't have it because either I can read it or maybe I was kind of into another way. But now I need like interaction. I need cutscenes. I need like English voice acting like that. Like I'm playing a game now, so like if I'm gonna go through the motions, I just kind of want something else got to be there. Like I tried to do what was that game? It was like a cute RPG. The Cruel King and the Hero. I forgot. It's a game for the Switch, but it was told like a storybook. Kind of RPG, and so
yeah,
there wasn't an actual like none of the characters were actually talking. It was like if your mother was reading the like a child's book to you, but it was in Japanese, and so I was still reading, and I'm reading faster than like how she's telling the story because I'm like, oh,
oh no.
and the dragon, and like they're telling like they're trying to tell it to a child, and I'm sitting there like, girl, we got things to do, hurry up. And it's like, and it's bad. I don't understand Japanese entirely, so I don't even know when like she stops talking. So it's just kind of like, oh, I might be skipping something. Like I do want to hear some of the enunciation. I do want to hear some of the excitement of it because that's the charm of it. But then sometimes it's like, I need to watch this like a YouTube video at 2x speed. Like it just needs to kind of happen a little bit.
Gotta speed this up. I also wonder, like, has your attention span changed, and that's what maybe why it changes that in that sense. 'Cause, like, there's sometimes where I just can't pay attention to a game, and I'm like, you know what, I've lost interest. I'm gonna go watch something instead, or just go on a YouTube crawl and down a rabbit hole of nothingness.
So yes, a lot of times, and I think the worst part of it is kind of getting to this spot, gotcha games, where it's like you get to a point with the gotcha game where you're kind of interested in it and you're trying to pay attention, and then it's work. Like you have tasks like, oh, I got to start this, I got to click this, I got to do this.
Yeah.
Like you're doing like your job for like the first like 30 minutes or whatever it takes to do everything, and then you're always like, oh no, I need it to be on repeat. I'm not going to just watch, or I need to be able to skip, or I need to be able to do something like that. So like, so sometimes my attention span is like that's why I talk about the whole interactive thing. If there's no voice acting, there's none of that, it's really hard to kind of be into it unless I'm actually doing stuff. Like if you're just going around and you're always like hunting something, you're always fighting and stuff, then yeah, you don't, a lot of those elements are not really all that big. But if it's something that's supposed to tell a story over 100 hours, it's hard for me to read over 100 hours of gameplay now.
Gotcha.
Pokemon is a very good example of this game. This should already been solved. There should already be voice acting in Pokemon at this point, so that way you can get it. Because like everything else is kind of really, it's really static. Like even like the movement that they do and all that, and it's like you're the silent protagonist, so technically you don't really talk or anything. And then like everybody's doing stuff like
accentuating.
It's just like stuff like that, and it's like no, like I don't understand how this game makes so much money and still gets away with stuff from Super Nintendo. Like it just doesn't make sense to me, and I think that's what killed me. Not with the last Pokemon, Arceus, but the one before that was the main one.
Sword and Shield.
Yeah, there we go. That one really killed me, and it killed me pretty early because outside of the story kind of being the same that it is, it's just kind of like, because I got to go through all this and I'm clicking, and that's where the time, your time attention span starts losing, because now it's like you don't want to jump into the game and feel like it's work already, kind of thing.
Yeah. So are you excited about oh god, Scarlet and oh my god, what's the other game? The new Pokemon.
Yeah, Scarlet and Violet or something like that. Or
Yeah.
yeah, I'll play it. Like because I want to kind of give it another shot, but I know it's going to be kind of like the same. I'm just hoping that I get a chance to actually do a lot of the other experiment stuff. Because Sword and Shield, I really didn't get into it. Like I didn't really get into like the Gimax, whatever, and that stuff. And
Right.
I was playing Pokemon for a long time. Like
Yeah.
I played it, like I own both. Like and I not for like Sword and Shield, but I had always owned both copies of the game. And now it's like, yeah, because it's like once you in this gotcha's game, which is the problem, because like those games don't stop, and I don't have to do a lot of it. I just need to do enough to where the streak doesn't die. But that takes up a lot of my attention sometimes, where I'm like, oh, there's Guild Wars, there's all this other stuff that's happening. Like my attention is directly just into that. So it's really hard when like a game that's like I can go back to it whenever I want doesn't have that same urgency.
Yeah. I try and stay away from gacha games because I can get an addictive personality thing. So when it comes to those type of games, I see myself losing like a lot of stuff into it. Like especially with Genshin Impact, when it first came out, I was like, I'm gonna try it out. So I downloaded it for PC, and then I started playing. I was like, oh, this is really good. I was like, oh, this is good. And I was like, oh, I need that character. Oh, I want that character. And I was like, oh, no. I need to stop myself because I'm gonna end up wasting too much money on it.
Yeah, I stopped Genshin Impact pretty early because I was like, oh, like I like the game, but I wasn't like in it. But I know how I am because I used to not really play like MMORPGs or anything like that because I wanted a story. I wanted something to happen. I don't want the story to be background a lot of times.
Right.
And I guess for me, gacha was like in that middle ground. Like when I first played Dragalia Lost, and it was like, oh, the little cutscene, I get to change it to a dragon, you hero collector. Like I was getting into it. I wasn't really spending any money because I was like, oh, I don't really want to spend any money, but I was, I was really getting into it. And when you start playing like the story and all that, and it was like, oh, okay, cool. But it kind of falls into like the same trap, right? It's just like, oh, okay, well, yeah, it's a time sink. A lot of the stuff that they got you with at the very beginning, which is like a pet peeve of mine, where it's like there's cutscenes, there may be some English voice acting, and then as the game progress, all that stuff just disappear. Like, oh, we already got you. Why do we need to? We'll pay voice acting for attack moves, but we don't need to sell you a story, like, or we don't need to do a movie for you.
We got your money.
and that's why I don't really play a lot of new gacha games. I think like Epic 7 right now is the only game gacha game that I play right now outside of just finishing Dragali Lost, because Dragali Lost is actually end of service or starting to be end of service. So like if Epic 7 dies, then I probably won't get into gacha games after that, because I know how much time gacha games has taken from me. Like I know like half the reason why I don't play a lot of other games, because I have to play them around Epic 7 sometimes.
Really?
Yeah, because I could be at work and I can have Epic 7 play itself, right? Like I can't have Pokemon go grind levels for me.
Right.
And so like those two things are not together, and you just have to kind of, you realize that, right? It's like, oh, like one of these things is like actually has a repeat mode, and you see a lot of new gacha games where that's what they're selling. Oh, like this game literally plays itself. It's an idle game. You tap, and then you just let it do its thing, and it'll upload and all that. You don't have to worry about it, And it's like they sell you that, and because they know that's such an important hook to get people on, and that's why, like, I just told myself, no, like, I see a lot of these other gacha games that are close. Like I found one that was like an actual mech one that was kind of like battle royale kind of mech one, and I was like, that's dangerous. So maybe put that away. But I think one thing a lot of these other newer gacha games do that I don't like is like chibi characters. Like there's no point in having a 2D detailed character, and then the character that's actually in game is this small. And all that detail is gone. Yeah, all that detail is gone. Like all that effort that you paid for is just, it disappeared, just gone forever. And so I was just like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. That's dumb. So that kind of what helps me stop not getting into anything in, like definitely like Fate and all that. Like definitely Fate has ruined people's lives, and I don't want to be one of those people. Epic 7 I think is gonna be my cap, and after that, Epic 7 dies, so does gacha games for me. At least right now. I gotta have room for other games. I do own a PS5 and an Xbox Series X. They need time.
They need something to do.
Yeah,
dude. Like I almost never touch my Switch. I'm either just on my PC or on my Xbox Series X, and that's it.
I didn't even bring up Switch in that whole analogy. Like it's just and then the thing is, like, I wanted to play Xenoblade Chronicles. Yeah. I wanted to start before Xenoblade Chronicles 3, and I started 3 months ago, and I did 1 day of it. It's like, because it was like, oh man, it's okay, but it's not getting me. I guess I didn't get to the point where it's really like catching me. So I'm like, shut it, man. Maybe I should just play 2, because I got 2 as well. And he's like, maybe I should just jump into 2. Maybe 2, like a newer title or whatever, might get me into it. But it was just like, yeah.
That's what I did. I started off just with 2, and I bought it and I got really into it. But again, I just kind of drifted off. And just like forgot about it and never came back to it. And then now they're like, oh, 3. I was like, oh, I should get back into 2 to play the 3. I was like, but I didn't even finish 2. I'm gonna have to go back into that. And then what if I go through and finish all of 2, and then when I buy 3, I just kind of lose it, and I'm like, I'm not feeling it anymore, because I wasted everything, all that energy and stuff I wanted in 2, and then 3 just becomes, oh well, it's kind of the same thing, better from what I've been hearing and stuff like that. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My biggest thing always fears like it's gonna kill the mood. Especially when it comes to like numbered games, we're like, oh, I should play this one before that one.
Yeah.
Or even though sometimes the stories don't connect, it's just that thing in my head. I'm like, oh, I should do this to be ready for it, and then I lose the mood of actually wanting to play the new game.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly where I'm at. It's just like you want to play the very beginning, because you want to. The more content you have, the more you feel like you enjoy it. It's kind of like how I see it. Like maybe playing the first Pokemon might not be the same as, just going ahead and playing the new one at this point. But like when it is a number game and you're like, well, there has to be some kind of correlation. Like game 1 has to have like some underlying grassroots for game 2. So it'd be weird to kind of jump into it. The Legend of Heroes, I think, was also another one too, where I did play the first game on the PS Vita, but I didn't play the other ones. I do own a lot of them, and I'm not gonna play the new ones until I finish the ones that I got. That's just kind of how I am. But it's like, yeah, it's like I'm stuck because like I see like the box art, I see cool stuff happen, but I want to know why that stuff is cool and why it happened. So I got to go back and play the first game, or at least try to finish it. But
have you ever tried to maybe change your mindset and just watch like a quick playthrough or something like that of like another person online, where like they do like a small cut of like the whole game, but you pretty much get the whole premise of it, and then you jump into the new one?
I haven't do that because I feel like it's cheating, and
Me too.
it feels like you could do that just so you can kind of get with it and all that. And normally it's like, well, if I play the latest game, I'm playing technically its better version. But if you played Xenosaga, you know that some of the versions weren't as good as they kept going on, and it's just one of those where it's just kind of like, man, yeah, I could do that, but then it's like, okay, but what did I lose in that experience? And like, I only watch those after like I played the game, and I watch them to see what context I lost, because like I played all like the Blaze Blue games, like for the fighting games, I played all of them.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do a good job of actually explaining the baseline story, and when they start doing like side games, like it's like, oh, this mobile game, this ping pong game, this other game, like that, everything that's not having to do with like the main game, but it does fill in the blanks. Those videos are perfect. Like 30 minutes to talk about like the storyline of how they all connect. I'll definitely watch those, because not only they're entertaining for me, I'm interested in the subject. I'll watch it, be all good. But like as far as like, oh, do I just do it because I was too lazy to play other games? Like it's hard for me, because then it's like, like then like I stop myself from watching it. If I feel like there's any kind of spoiler, like it's like, oh no, click, I'm sorry, turn off the PC. I didn't see shit.
I'm trying to rewire my brain in the opposite way, where if it's like a game I wanted to play, or it's in a series, I want to go into it and just watch someone else play it, because I'm like talking about before, it's like I'm just gonna kill the mood for me, so why not just catch myself up by someone else? But at the same time, I have that in my head where it's like, oh no, I'm cheating myself by doing this. So I'm like stuck in the middle right now. It's like, I should do this because I know I don't have the time and space for this. But in my head, it's like, no, you got to play it. That's cheating. And the idea, you're not a real gamer, which is complete BS, but it's just there.
Tell me if this is a commonality with this. You watch something like that and you do see a spoiler, and then when you play the game, you're just waiting when that point comes up in the game. You're like, oh, this was when it's gonna happen? No, okay. If this one is gonna happen? Oh, when's the stuff gonna happen? Like you're just playing to get to that one point, and it's just like, oh, and it's like, is it happening here? Is it here? That's another reason why I don't do it, because let's say it's like, oh, like this person betrays this person. You're wondering like, okay, so is that midpoint? Is that like, does that, because you start making it like it's like a bookmark, like how far I am in this storyline. That's like, okay, if I get past this point, I know there's like 10 more hours of the game, so I'm really close to it, or something like that. So I kind of avoid. That's another reason why I avoid that, because then I'm anticipating the wrong thing. Like I'm supposed to just be like enjoying the story, anticipate how things come along, but now I'm just always waiting like, when's it gonna happen? When am I gonna get that sick ass power up? Like when I'm gonna get that final piece of armor that's in every promo of this game. It's like, it's kind of BS.
You're like, I know you betrayed me, but stop acting all nice to me right now.
It's like, quit toying with my emotions.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, man, that's kind of, a lot of that is kind of just something. What are you playing right now? Actually, you can kind of talking about that.
Right now I'm actually, because I had a break from school last week, so I actually took time to play games, and I've been playing Hades.
Oh, you jumped into Hades.
Yeah. That game is freaking so much fun.
A lot of people love it. That's also like a good example. Like even like, it's not a big deal of it, but there's voice acting in that game. Like there's there's flavor characters, like characters that just have a little bit more. Like I played it a little bit when I was actually testing out on Game Pass. I think that's when I first started playing it, and I was playing it on my phone and stuff. I was like, oh, this is cool. Oh, I can get a controller. Oh, nice. Okay, this ain't all that bad. That was like my first experience with like Game Pass. And
streaming wise?
I like actually doing it on my phone, like, because before, like, I owned it, but I didn't really like took advantage of it off the platform that it was on. So like I was like, okay,
Gotcha.
I have Game Pass, I have Ultimate. I just paid it because it's like it's all in one price point.
Yeah.
Buy this and you have everything Xbox. So for my Xbox, like I just want to have everything Xbox. So it's like
Yeah.
15, $16, and it's not a big deal. So like I did it for that, but then like that was the first time like on my Android phone with a controller, and I actually bought like the Razer one to go around the phone and stuff. Which,
I had the same one. Yeah.
yeah, big phones just they don't have the perfect thing for it, and it's like it's normally it's like an iPhone game sometimes that you really want to do it for.
Yeah.
But I mean, it worked out, and I was like, "Oh, this ain't bad. Like, it's playing at a really nice refresh rate. Like, playing it on Wi-Fi and everything. It's like, oh, this is shit." So that's the first time I played that game. But that's also another game where it's like stuff is happening. It's like it's a Metrovania, right? Like that's technically Metrovania, or
It's more like a roguelike because
okay,
every
yeah,
time you die, you
roguelike.
start off in the beginning.
Yeah, so
The
it's
one thing I'm
kind of.
enjoying is like it has a lot of different dialogues every time you die and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So every time you go, you'll talk to a character or the character won't be there. And so far, I haven't run into any same dialogue, even though I've died multiple times and stuff like that. And it's like like I died, and I go, I was like, what are they gonna? They're gonna, because you always had that moment where like you talk in games, it's the same freaking voice, the same freaking dialogue, and like goes like, oh no, they're actually talking about something different. They're actually doing this different, or they're talking about this instead. So like the way they did that in the game is really clever because it helps you to want to keep playing because you're like, oh okay, cool. It's like, oh, I died, but at least now I can go and talk to the other characters and see what they have to say.
Yeah, and I actually got to experience that, but I didn't really recognize that. So that's kind of like a good thing. I thought that was just, it was suspecting me to die kind of thing. So I didn't really kind of think about that subconsciously. But no, that's actually pretty cool. What else are you playing?
Uh, that's it. The one thing I want to try to get back into is I want to get back into the Destiny because I'm so far behind since the big update of the Witch Queen in February. I
Mm,
started it when it came out. I took time off to play it, and I started playing it, and then I just dropped off.
yeah, I
And then
got
now
back in it.
they're already about to start up their third season with like their power ups of their arc, and it's the arc system. So they did the purple one. I can't remember the names right now. Then it did the solar. Oh, it was void, and then solar, and now it's arc. And it's like I'm two behind already, and the third one's about to come up when they update everything. It's like
Mhm.
I should get back into it because that's the one game I like to consistently play. It's like it's my feel good like games. Like, what, I have nothing to do. I feel bored. Just throw on some Destiny. I'll have a great time with this.
Yeah, I know you got into it like real early too, because I remember
Yeah.
you were always on it. Let's see. For me, I'm finally starting to play some games that were out on the back burner. Also, some new games. So, and I started DNF dual. I think that's how it's called. But like the new fighting game for it, where basically every character is just a class name. Like I've been
Yeah.
really liking that because I really like Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and it plays like that without the tag in. Like it
Oh,
actually
really?
looks good to watch other people play it. It's really easy. Like I was like, this is a very simple like combination of buttons. Like because there's no real like dragon punches or um Hadouken kind of motion. It's always either everything's a button or everything's a button. It's like Super Smash Brothers. Either everything's a button or everything's a button with a direction. And so your combos and all that, they all have to be some kind of correlation of that, and it works out really nicely. I do have fun with that. And then like started playing that, and then Multiverse just came out, or at least I'm not sure if it's
Yeah.
in beta or not, but I've been trying it on the computer, and I've been kind of enjoying that a little bit. Like it's definitely a lot more floaty than Super Smash Brothers, but like I think it's overall nice. I think the this version of it really works out really well. Like I definitely say I liked it better than the PlayStation All Stars one. Um, but it's like I was like, oh, okay, this ain't bad. Free to play. You go try some characters out, and you can kind of earn to play some characters, or just chill out, buy the rest. It's like okay, but I
Right.
got the chance to play it, so I've been playing it like I play for like 10, 20 minutes, just online, get like some daily stuff or whatever. Epic 7, I don't really consider me like as a game I'm playing, just a game that's like it's always gonna happen. It's like this
Just
game is being played. For
Yeah.
for the other game on the console, I just popped in Spider-Man, Miles Morales. So
Nice.
I'm like I gotta break it. This is one of my first PS5 games, but it was the first PS5 game that I played, and it's like no, just it's time to open it up. I went back because this year I went back and did all the other Spider-Man additional quest and DLC and all that.
Right.
And I actually really enjoyed that with like Black Hat and all that. So I was like, oh, this game's really nice. And that was like one of those games where like I jumped in, I played in the theater room, and like I had Laura there to kind of see like some of the earlier parts, because a lot of the earlier parts are very talkative, very like, oh, trying to get you into doing a lot of the stuff, but making it seem like it's like part of everything. So those
Yeah.
are all good, but like after a while, when I'm just punching and kicking people, she tunes out at that point. So
Her phone goes on.
it's all like it's like you're punching the same guy over and over and over, and it's all like, well, this is Spider-Man's life. This is what he does. He's like, he punches the same people.
Don't judge him. This is how he has to save New York.
Yeah, it's all like, you think he likes this? So
This is why he has so many problems.
yeah, so those are the current games that I'm playing back and forth. Like I said, like I didn't go back to like the Switch stuff, and Breath of the Wild is one of those games I wanted to go back to, because I don't think I gave it a fair shot for like how
Never
it was.
beaten it?
I know, no, like I think I got down the
Really?
hill and I started wandering off in places I shouldn't have been, and then I think I like paused it one time because I was playing it while I was when I was still traveling for work. So when I was like going back and forth, sometimes my
yeah.
Switch will come with me. But then I ended up playing more Super Smash Brothers on there because I could just, because like I'm trying to get better, right? So like I'll play
Yeah.
it even with like the joysticks, or I'll just give up and bring a controller with me, and I'll just like play it in the hotel room. Like okay, I like that, you know. And I won't even like be playing like anybody, because last thing I want to do is go on Wi-Fi over talking to somebody at hotel Wi-Fi or whatever. So I'll be
Wi-Fi
playing
the
like
best.
yeah. So I'll just be playing like level 9, you know, computer, just so I could get a little bit better at the game. But that kind of like, it kind of took over a little bit too quickly. Like I was like, oh, Breath of the Wild, you know, I get put in some times and all that, and then it was like no. So I didn't really give it a fair shot. And again, that's another game I won't play the next one until like I actually play Breath of the Wild, because I do like Legend of
I
Zelda
think
games.
you gotta get started on that right now, because if Breath of the Wild 2 is gonna be as big as the first one is, like you can end up getting burnt out joining into the second one. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when Breath of the Wild came out, I played it and I guess quote unquote hard mode, because
Mm-hmm.
I turned off the hub and everything, so I had nothing when I would walk in the screen, no map or nothing, and I would just go. I was like, all right, here we go. Let's see where this takes us. And so at the time I had a roommate, my roommate was playing it too, and so it was cool talking about like the different stories in between, because we would take different paths on how we got to the actual bosses and to like the different villages and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
and finding all the different little mini dungeon shrines and stuff like that was really, really cool. And like that game took me a long time to beat, but it's because since I had it on hard mode, I was just kind of like, all right, well, boot up the game, sit in my bed, and all right, let's go this way and let's see where this takes us. Oh, let's go over here. Oh, that's really cold. I need to find out how to be able to survive the cold now.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is a big game. It kind of reminds you of Elder Scroll right now, or Elden Ring. That's like how
Yeah.
big this game actually is. Um,
I hear Elden Ring is huge, and that scares me.
yeah, like every time I see someone play it, like outside of like the very early tutorial part of it, or like when you first run into like the bigger baddies, it's like every time you see like another like spot for it, it's like, oh, like where is this at? Where's that at? Like all this is new and
Yeah.
interesting. That's a game I do want to try out, but it's also one of those games that like I haven't had the best experience with their other titles like Sekiro and all that, and I think maybe I was just weak and just couldn't really like get with it, like the purpose of the game, because I think the game itself has just a style that you have to get used to. Like getting good is one thing, but you also have to get used to like what is it the game trying to get you to do, and then get better at that thing that it wants you to do. And
Figuring out the mechanics and like how fast or slow you are when it comes to parrying and stuff like that.
pretty
'Cause
much
it does
'cause-
have Souls games have a very specific like movement for each game. Like your Dark Souls games are usually slower, Bloodborne's faster, and then Elden Ring seems like it's like a kind of in between the two.
yeah, because like when I see like the high level like games of Sekiro, it's all like, you know, block 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 block, and then or parry 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 parry, and then I'm there and I'm like, oh, maybe that's what I was doing wrong. It's all like maybe like I was, because I always hated like the whole like I would dodge but then I still get hit. It's like I dodge the opposite
Yeah.
direction, the guy just going, where are you going? Stop that. It's all like, what is this? It's all like, it's literally moves to where I am. Like it doesn't, like you can't really dodge it. It's like, oh, I was like, okay. And then I think that happened like too many times. Like I was progressing, but I would just think like, man, this game is a lot harder than I thought it was. it's like I'm not getting and I was like I'm not getting into the story part of it because I keep dying. So I think like I dropped off on that one. So I'm more like, oh, maybe Elden Ring might be a little bit better, but right now it's like it's hard for me to do a $60 bet to say if it's better or not. Like since I know like the other games had nothing to do with Elden Ring, I was like, oh, I could just join in Elden Ring, like it's own game, all of that. But then it's like, but am I just gonna hate it like the other ones because like I'm just not getting with it? And then, like so far, I haven't seen like an actual like story to it. It's like, oh, it has it has all this other stuff, and maybe it has a better story. But to me, Elden Ring is always like, you're a random guy. They threw you out there. For some reason, you're here. It doesn't matter, but you're here, and you go from a peasant to like just beating everybody, getting armor, and then all of a sudden you're fighting God. It's like, okay, I'm random human, no name.
Didn't have that in my Wednesday.
It's like, this doesn't sound like an RPG. And it's like this. It's all like, oh, I'm just putting me in there. I'm just like, oh, me versus that. Well, and I think that's the appeal of it. So like, I can't really hate on it and stuff. And I think for how everybody loves it, it must be the right way to go about it. But
Yeah.
like, it's just hard to do a $60 bet on it. It's like, especially when I'm like, I'm trying to play more games, but I don't want a game that just stops me from playing games.
Yeah. Kind of goes like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just gonna watch something for a while and stay away from games because I'm just too upset.
Yeah. What is the other thing? There's a question I did want to ask you. Cause I know, you have been with your new girlfriend for a while, and I know Damien's a lot older now. Do you have a chance to play games with them as much?
Yeah, Damien, it's fun to play with because since he's older, I'll play online with like all his friends and stuff like that, and so they all consider me like the cool dad compared to like all their dads stuff like that. Cause I'll go on there, chat with them and stuff like that. I'll talk trash to them, especially like they love playing like Fall Guys and stuff like that. And since it came to free to play and stuff like that, they can all access it and play it now. And so we'll jump in and play it, and like we'll just all be talking trash, even though we're like playing teams or working together. We'll still talk trash. We're like, oh, you didn't make it. Come on, bro. It's like I beat you. I'm like twice your age. You're supposed to be better than me, better reactions than me, and I beat all of y'all. What's going on here? I came in 4th place, and you all didn't make the cut.
Yeah, no. I actually just started that today. Like I play Fall Guys for the first time today.
For the first time?
For the first time. And it was weird because I owned it for PlayStation. Like I downloaded it when it came out. And that was the first time I actually played it, and I actually played it with like friends or coworkers this time. And it's like, oh, okay. Like I knew it was like, oh, it shouldn't be that bad of a game. Like I seen people playing and stuff like that. But I think even when it came out, I think Among Us came in like a hot meteor and just so like, don't play that game. You want to be over here where all the cool kids are at. And it's like, I do like lying to people. Kid. But it's like, it's just like, okay, that when I saw people playing Among Us, it was like, okay, I kind of really switched onto that. And then I got to play with y'all that one time. Playing with y'all one time was fun, but I did have something wrong with my computer because I remember that. Everything didn't work. And I ended up, I think sometime after that, nuking the whole thing. Like I had to nuke it. There was something on my computer that if it was a video call, if it was streamed, like this would be impossible when I did it back then. So something just said like, yeah, you are not going to have a good time today. And so now that I got that fixed, whatever it was, it's deleted, it's gone. And now everything works. So now I can play games like that. I can stream and all that. But yeah, during that time, I remember like doing my best, and I had to do Discord on my phone and connect to that while still playing with y'all and stuff like that. And sometimes I'm all trying to talk to y'all, and no one can hear me because the thing can't register if I'm muted or not. And it's like, oh, this is a nightmare. And then what didn't even matter because y'all just all like y'all just said like, yeah, well, just vote him out anyway. Like it's the safe bet. Just vote. Like I won one game and y'all never trusted that again for like 4 games after that. It's y'all didn't have a justification. Just like that boy is guilty.
Well, that's not happening again.
And it's all like, well, I mean, the game didn't really do me any favors. It did kept picking me as the imposter. So it's just kind of
That's right.
like, does everybody know something that I don't know? Like this seems kind of sus. It's like,
That was one funny thing, cause I played with Damien, like with his friends on Among Us, and then I had him jump on and play with like all my friends and stuff like that. And it was funny because I was like, they're like, oh, like they would cuss stuff like that, and like, oh, but your son's here. It's like it's okay. It's like he knows better, so he knows better not to use these words, stuff like that. If we do, we'll have a conversation about it. And he had a hard time adjusting because my friends are much better at lying than his friends are, because just age difference. We're used to doing it for dumb things here and there.
mm-hmm.
And so like they would just lie through their teeth and stuff like that, and Damon would fall for it and stuff like that, and he'd be like, "Ah, we got you," and he'd be like, "Ah, come on!" He would get so frustrated with us, but he was still having so much fun, and he was just like, "Man," he's like, "Your friends are good." I was like, "Nah, we're just really good at lying to each other for fun."
We have gained the experience.
Yeah,
It's like,
I mean, you'll get there one day, child. Don't worry.
yeah, you won't like it, but it's something that you'll learn the hard way. It's just-
Yeah.
yeah. I was like,
And
well,
then like when it comes to my significant other, we don't play games often, but when we do, it's like passing the controller. Like one of the things we do recently is we've been playing like Hades together.
mhm.
Whether it's usually just like on her profile and stuff like that. Like I'll go over and stuff like that. We're hanging out, eating some food, and we'll just start playing. And I will admit, she's better than me at the game. Like she's gotten further than me and everything. And um, like we'll play, and then she'll die, and then she'll pass it off to me, and then I'll play, and I won't get anywhere near as far as she gets into it. And some of that, I'm like, oh damn it. She's like, come on, it's so easy. I'm like, I know, but you're better than me.
Yeah. You know, the funny part of that, I actually got Laura to play a game. It Takes Two.
How did that go?
The game was great, and I actually enjoyed it. I'm glad I gave it a shot. I did not realize the knowledge gap of video games until Laura was playing.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
and it's not her fault or whatever, but she remembers playing games around literally the Super Mario, like early Super Mario.
Yeah.
And so 3D movement was a nightmare for her. She wasn't used to left stick, right stick. She wasn't used to like, oh, use the right stick to turn, use the left stick to move. She wasn't used to that. And so like she wasn't used to panning cameras, like all the basic stuff. She wasn't really used to that, and it even while we were playing, it took a while because she'd just be like, "Why are you kind of jumping?" Blah blah blah, and it's like, I mean, it's literally just forward X, but she didn't really grasp that. She would be forward, off the forward X, so it would be
Yeah.
walk and then jump upward, walk and then jump upward. So she wasn't doing the motion of jumping forward. She didn't do that because she felt like everything was done in kind of like just different states, and it took her a while to really get 3D movement. And I told her, like, you just need to just kind of just go around in a circle, just practice like that and stuff. But I didn't realize just like, oh, like that generation gap is so big that like
Yeah.
if for someone who doesn't, even for a game like that, because that game was if me and you played it, we'd get it done in a day,
Yeah.
for sure. But like for someone who just doesn't play video games, I was wakened to the fact that if you don't do this, the simple stuff could still be very hard, because at the
Yeah.
end of the day, you're controlling something that you see, not you doing it. And
Yeah,
so,
I had the same thing with my partner because when Destiny was able to like finally become full crossplay and everything, I had at that point already switched over to PC, and then she was like, you know, my partner was like, yeah, you know, I'll try it out with you. So she downloaded it on her PS4 at the time, and then we jumped into it together, and so we started playing it, and she had a really hard problem with like getting the concept of using the joysticks and your first person motions and stuff like that. So turning to your right, to your left to move the aim and stuff like that, but also move the camera while you're still aiming to shoot it this way. So she'd be trying to look one way but shooting the other way because she's not moving her hands together. And so I had to stop because the only way I could teach her is if we're in the same room to play together. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And we didn't have a setup like that where we could go in the same room and play together. So it's like she's like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I suck." It's like, no, you don't suck. It's just that you're not used to playing these type of games. Like, and for something like that, I gotta sit down with you and teach it to you, because I'm used to it from playing at the horrible, great game at the time, but horrible like 007,
yeah.
GoldenEye. Like you try playing that today and it's terrible compared to how first person stuff gone. But from going to Halo, Call of Duty, and stuff like that, like it's it's just second nature to me to move it like that. And then even switching to, I understand where she comes from switching over to PC. I had to like relearn how to play first person shooters and stuff like that. And once I learned it on PC, I was like, oh, okay. I had the opposite effect where I started forgetting how to do on controller. And so like my buddy would play on Xbox and I would jump in with him and I go to my controller. I'm like, oh wait, yeah, these are the buttons. I gotta do it this way. And it would take me a minute to rewire and get back to it. So I was like, it's not like you suck. You have to spend time and learn it, but I'll have to be there to help you learn it and stuff like that. I was like, or you do it on your own time. But she gets frustrated. She's like, no, don't worry about it. It's like, it's not a big deal. She's like, I'm sorry. It's like, no, don't apologize. It's not your fault.
Yeah.
It's like there's plenty of other games we could find together and stuff like that. Like we played a game called Unpacking together. That was really, really fun because it's super simple. And that's just like you go through different phases of this person's life and you unpack, do the different places you move. And the whole purpose of the game is just to like relax, unpack it, put stuff where you believe it, where you need to and stuff like that. And you go through different rooms unpacking and you'll find like items that belong in the bedroom that you open in the living room box. And so you got to move them over to that room and stuff like that. And so like she loved playing that one, you know what I mean? Because like, oh, this is fun. I can organize this, like all the rooms so that I can set it up this way. And so we would just hang out together and play that one together. I'd be like, oh no, put that over there, look cool over there. She's like, okay, or I'll put it over here, or put that poster up there and things like that. So that's a cool thing. It's one thing I really do love about Game Pass is that it helps you to explore those type of smaller indie games and not having to fully pay for them and sometimes being disappointed like, oh, I paid $15 for this and I don't even touch it.
Yeah, and what was it? One thing I liked about It Takes Two is it actually introduced you to a lot of different genres as you play the game. Like it actually hits on almost every single genre of type of game, and it was really
cool.
nice because it got Laura to play a lot of those different types of genres. Got her to play what is like the roguelike RPG, what it's like to play like a simple fighting game and stuff like that. What is it like to do a first person shooter? The only thing about the game is like it had the girl character do a lot of like those kind of things, like like not the like movement stuff. They kind of got her the do like the actual jumping of the game stuff, which again it was like for Laura some of it was kind of a little bit harder, but it was like, trust me, if you did the other part, it'd be a lot harder, like timing the platforms and making sure like you're doing it so that way she can actually make it over to the other side. That was like you don't want to play it on the other side. Like you're right now, you are playing the easiest part. You're playing the fun part too, but you're also playing the easiest. You don't want to do the other half of like getting it all set up and all that. So, but I really liked it because they got her like for someone who hasn't played games, like got her to play all the games. But she definitely does like playing the mobile games more. I will say that, like playing the, I forgot what like a wardrobe game. It's like your job is like to kind of do like match 3 and you get money and then you buy wardrobes and you do all like that stuff. She does like that because like I think the management games are fun when there's like kind of like a thing to go for it, and I think she really likes kind of going into those games more. But but yeah, like trying to get her to other games, like it's just. She likes spectating games like Uncharted, games that move like a movie, and you're playing and it's still going. Like the dialogue's still going. She's seeing that you're shooting, you're moving, you're progressing. So she really likes watching that stuff. But the open world, like anything from like Assassin's Creed, like 3 to 5, like or 3 to Syndicate, like you're like, I gotta go take out like this and liberate that, and then I gotta go collect that. Tune out. Like she hates it, but she likes the generalness of Assassin's Creed. It's just she hates, like, I hate that you basically stop playing the game to play the game. And I was like, I didn't really think of it like that either. Like, but
that's a good way to put it. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's all like, but like I agree with it. Like after a while, it's like, okay, you got away with it for some, but when it's like the gimmick of the game, then it's really hard. And I think Horizon Zero Dawn kind of, or not Zero Dawn, but Forbidden West was kind of like that, where it's like I liked it because every thing that I did had me met new people and there was talking and all that, but it also was a laundry list. Like when you open up the map, it hurt your eyes. Like, cause there was like
it's all
50 icons. It's all like, oh, like I gotta go help those people out, but it's not mandatory, or I gotta go do that, but it's not mandatory. But you don't get cool stuff if you don't do it all, and some stuff that you want to do that you care about, you have to do this other stuff to get to it. And it's like if it wasn't for talking, voice acting, like this stuff kind of happening, kind of get you involved. Yeah, I would have just cut through the middle of the game, just literally just nope, not going to that town, not going up, not going north. I don't care. I'm not doing that battle. No, let's just get to the end of this game. But it does feel like a chore when you have to kind of do it like that. And yeah, no, those are the things that she really doesn't like, because when you're like, okay, I got to do this for like 2 hours, and sometimes it will be 2 hours. Like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, I just want to do this because this will lead me to this and all that. It's not as fun. Like, and I think I agree with that too in a lot of aspects.
I'm actually surprised because, well, actually, proud is a good way to put it because my son started getting into like more open world games. So like right now he's playing into Far Cry 5, and he's
Mm.
like telling me about it. He's like, yeah, I'm doing this and I did this mission, and he beat Dying Light and Dying Light 2 all by himself and
Oh,
everything,
nice.
and he enjoyed it. Like he enjoyed Dying Light 1 so much that when 2 came out, and it's like, yeah, I'll get it for you as soon as it comes out. So I bought it from him, and he went through and he beat it and everything. He even helped his cousin like play the game and stuff like that. But at that point, it was just like, oh, dude, like you're starting to play like not real games, but a lot more harder games and stuff like that. Because his usual go-to is like playing multiplayer games with friends online or going to Roblox and stuff like that. And
Hmm.
so this year he's finally starting to delve into like deeper games with more story and stuff like that. And it's cool because like I try not to pressure or put anything on him to be like, oh, you should play this or you need to play this, you need to play that. I like him to experience and find the games that he likes to play, and seeing him jump into those games is like, oh, that's awesome. Like he's found these and he likes them on his own. That's really really cool because now we could play them separately together and also talk about them and stuff like that.
You know what? And that, I think that brings up a point. Games that I haven't really got into, that or haven't touched at all, is games like the or Roblox and Minecraft. I have not touched either of those two games since they've been out. And I know they're like some like the biggest things to do, especially like where people make like the
Yeah.
all the other small games with Roblox and stuff. But I haven't touched those games because to me, I'm all like, I mean, they're nice, but why are they interesting? Like what I see other people
Yeah.
do, I'm all like, yeah, that's cool, but like I guess me building something like that or like building some of the stuff I've seen, it doesn't seem all that enticing to me. And every time I look at Roblox, I look at like this looks cheap. This looks
Yeah.
very cheap. Like
The
it's all,
craziest thing too is like Roblox is one of those games that like in like the gaming industry or news and stuff like that, it's like a game that's never talked about, but it's making like handfuls of money every day and stuff like that. And it's like so many people slash kids are playing it, and it's like it's a huge, huge game if you think about it. But
which is
like,
so surprising.
and
It
nobody
really is.
recognizes it. You know what I mean? Like there's like, oh blah, and they're like, oh Roblox, a dumb game. It's like, well, you're saying it's a dumb game, but this thing's making like almost billions of dollars over here.
Yeah, like I remember only really knowing about it because the ads when you're watching like anime online, like those side ads that always pop up and stuff. It's like it'd be something all like, "Oh, this is bad. This is not a Roblox. Don't you want to play this?" Like, what is this Lego thing? You know, it's like I just discounted it because of that. Because I thought it was just another like game that they put around. Like, oh, we're gonna have Minecraft but with Lego
Yeah.
people, and it's like, oh, it's not that type of game thing at all. But I didn't realize it was such a really big thing that like basically just has a hold on the younger audience. And it was like I
Yeah.
didn't even know how they even get into it. Like how do you get or even introduced to a game that's like solely online like that?
Yeah, it's really interesting like how he got into it, of course, was just to like YouTube algorithms and stuff like that
Mm-hmm.
of watching like at the time when he was younger, he would watch like kid appropriate YouTubers or stuff like that, and their kids would be playing like Roblox and stuff, and so he started checking it out. He's like, "Oh, can I play?" I was like, "Yeah, let's go ahead and make an account for you, and then we'll watch over what you're doing and stuff like that." And then from there, I think that's what helped. That also helps to him to become more diverse in games, because since it's a bunch of small mini games with different stuff that people make, he starts going into, oh, I like this like for some reason I don't know why to this day, but like kids are obsessed with Five Nights at Freddy's still. And it's like that's supposed to be a game that scares them to death, but they love it. And like so on Roblox he'd find like simulating games to like build your own like Five Nights at Freddy's pizzeria. And so he had to do little tasks to get money and then build the pizzeria and stuff like that. Or he would go into another one where it's like a run and gun where he has to run and like kill little things, and then like one of the Five Nights at Freddy's characters is chasing him and stuff like that. And so it was cool to watch him like start branching out and playing these different little games. And then when it comes to playing like the games that you pay money for and stuff like that. He's like, oh, this is kind of like this game I played in Roblox, but there's all this added to it, and this is much nicer and stuff like that. Like when I upgraded him to a Series X and like a 4K TV and stuff like that, he was like mind blown because he's just like he opened up Fortnite and he was just like, oh my god, he's like, I can get headshots so much easier now. And I laughed because when I had gone out of town to Las Vegas for a convention, um, he stayed here. He stayed here with my parents being here and stuff like that, and so he got to play on his Series X stuff like that for like over a week. And then when I came back, he went back to his mom's, and at his mom's he still has a Xbox One and like a 720, maybe 1080p TV. And so when he went back, he was just like, oh, he's like, I was playing Fortnite with my friends, and I kept missing my shots because I thought I was shooting the guys, but I was shooting the butterflies. He's like, I can't tell because I was so used to the 4K. And I was like, yes, now you know the difference, and now you're ruined forever.
Oh, you think he's ruined for that? Wait till he actually gets a PC.
Yeah.
It's like, when he starts playing stuff on PC, it's all like, what is this? 4K. Puh. It's like, you know,
He started delving that out because, like, if I'm not here and stuff like that, like, especially during like his summer vacation, he'd be here, and I was like, I'm gonna go to work, and he's like, oh, can I use your PC? I was like, yeah, go for it. I was like, you know my password, you know how to log into Steam. And so he started diving into like small games on PC, and then just this week when he started up school, he woke up early because he was like, oh, I want to play Stray. I was like, oh, well, I have it. I bought it on Steam. And he's like, you did? I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, because Miranda and I, my partner, are gonna play it together because she wants to play it. So like she gave me half the money. I was like, it's only $30, but she gave me half. So I was like, cool. I mean, we'll split it and we'll play it together at some point. And so he woke up early so he could, before school, he could play. He played like an hour of Stray, and he was like, oh, it's so fun. It looks so nice and blah blah blah. Because I don't have a 4K monitor, but I have a high like 240 hertz, like 1440p HDR and all that stuff. So he's like, oh my god, it looks amazing and this and that. And I'm like, yeah. It's like that's. I was like, and I asked him too. I was like, hey, did you play with the controller? He's like, no, I played it with mouse and keyboard. I was like, good.
That's too funny. Oh god. Man, I just kind of think about that. You know, one type of game I always thought, maybe because I'm getting older and I can see all my other friends and stuff getting older, maybe these type of games are being more attractive when you actually start to play them, and I just never thought it would like take off. Simulation games, like Power Wash Simulator, and like all the games where it's all like, isn't this a game where you're actually doing the thing? Like it's like it's all like, wait a minute, what am I missing here? A game where you actually build a PC in the game instead of actually building a PC. Wait a minute. What? Then like when people like, oh, like Power Wash Simulator is so therapeutic. Oh, it's so nice. It's so fun, and you're like, what? Run by that me again. Like
that's a funny thing because like because I knew about Power Wash Simulator and stuff like that from like one of the YouTubers I watched, stuff like that. Like he played it early access, stuff like that, and he's an older dude. Like he's like, I think he just turned 50 recently, but he was like in his late 40s when, like last year, the year before, when it was an early access. He started playing it, and he would talk about it all the time. He's like, it's the best thing ever. And I was like, oh, well, he's just saying that because he's older. And then like it started becoming a phenomenon. And then when it was announced that it was coming to Game Pass, like Damon found out about it, and he got so excited. He's like, Power Wash Simulator's coming to Game Pass. I'm like, you're excited about that game? He's like, I can't wait. He's like, and you can play online with my friends. Like we're all ecstatic to play. I was like, a bunch of middle schoolers are excited to play Power Wash Simulator? Like, I was like, go get Grandpa's Power Wash and do his freaking front yard. He's like, no, it's hot outside. I'm like, damn it.
Yeah. Oh god. No, it's just because it's weird when it comes up in conversation and stuff. And I haven't had a chance to play it myself, but like I've known people that really like it, really play it, and it was really interesting. It was just kind of like, this type of game does take off, and it's like this type of game would not fly, you know, like even when I was 18, like there's no way this game would even like. But I think now that because game dev is so accessible now, and I think the more different type of people that are actually starting to make games, the more different type of games are coming out, whether they're AAA or whether or not they're indie and stuff like that. And I think like now it's all like, oh, like there's a lot of type of games you can play now. There's a lot of type of games you can really get into. So it's I think it's kind of nice in that aspect. And like you said, like I wouldn't have thought that this game would have done as well, but I've noticed a lot more simplistic games do extremely well. Like
Yeah.
we're in the age of base character, where like if you can get a character that could look the same, but you could just accessorize it, that's where you make the money. Like it's all
Yeah.
like you get Fortnite, the same character no matter who you are, just put a skin on it. Fall Guys, keep playing, start getting outfits. Now next thing you know, your Ezio from Assassin's Creed to Spider-Man, but it's like the gameplay don't change. It's just the thing of accessorizing. Like, oh, that looks so cool. It's only $5. I do want to look like Ezio. Like it's like that. That so far has been like where the money is being made. It's like if you could get a game. I mean, that's pretty much Funko Pops in its entirety. It's like it's the same thing, but they sold it at a price where it's like, okay, it's not terribly expensive. Like $10 for like my one favorite character, and then like you could just branch off to whatever genre it can because there's no walls for it. And it's like, yeah, as long as I get the property for it, yeah, I'll make Yu-Gi-Oh from, or Yugi from Yu-Gi-Oh, or I'll make, the dragon from Lord of the Rings. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it just, as long as they all look the same, and I can put it in a box for $10 and we're all good. Like, and you just realize how many people go from like, oh, I like it to like, I need it. Comic-Con, so many people bought Funkos. It was disgusting. How many bags
Were you one of those people?
No, dude. There was a like you had to sign up for like a line to get in the line and get notified that you could be in the line for like those really hard to get Funkos. And
Jesus.
when you saw the line was wrapped around like you thinking like they brought back like any of your, like they brought back Michael Jackson, whatever. Like it's like they brought him back from alive, and now like today's the only day you get to see him because after tomorrow we killing him again. Like it's like you got to see him now, and then you just have this long line. You're just like, what is this line for? And it's like, oh, it's just to go to the Funko thing. And it's like, but the Funko thing's down there. Yes. So like you seen like people like in the hallway and stuff, like these big old what's it, your grandmother's kind of purse bags, and you just see like the Funko just kind of popping out from the top, and people are, I mean, some of them did look cool. Like I got a chance to see like some of them were like had like crazy designs to them, but I was just kind of like, there's no way. Like it's like that is just so big. But I saw more people buying those collectible stuff than I saw them buying anything. No, I'm probably the weird one. I bought like the one Gundam thing because I finally bought my first metal build. Like the Gundam, not Strike Freedom, but just the regular Freedom. I had the metal build for that, and they had it discounted from Bandai directly. But
nice.
It was like, I wanted to get the PG, but they're like, no, like that was sold out, and so we got that. I'm like, I wanted a metal build. These things are expensive. But it's like, yeah, like when you look at that and you're like, oh god, that costs a lot of money to get that one thing. Next thing you know, you see these people going Funko Pops, and like every day, all day. It's all like, oh, maybe I can get another one if I go the next day. It's just, it was so crazy that of people in line to buy this stuff, that buy like these exclusives, and I'll just like, is there anything else to do? No, just buy Funkos. Okay. But it's like the base character thing just sells. If you can get that one nice base character look and you're able to branch it off to whatever you want, you're going to make money. That's just kind of how I feel. It's like that you're going to make money because technically there's nothing really stopping you. As long as like the whatever the base thing you're doing is solid, like as long as your gameplay is solid and as long as you're doing this stuff and you do tweaks to make it better, make the experience better, kind of listen to your audience, do all that other stuff, you're going to make money. And every time you announce something, it's like, it's not like you're announcing a new mode. You're announcing, oh, this character is coming to Fortnite, right? It's all like, oh, now everybody can play Naruto with a gun. Don't you want to play Naruto with a gun? It's like, don't you want to do that?
And then you can eat him eating ramen after you kill the person.
Yeah, it's all like that alone is like sells, like, and like, again, the game's free, but that got you $10. Just because you did that, just because that, and then how many more $10 you get to where basically Epic is literally running on Fortnite. Whatever Fortnite needs,
Yeah.
Epic does it, and Epic gets money to do other stuff.
Well, that's pretty much because of Fortnite. That's how they were able to open up their own like PC store and stuff like that, because they had so much money from Fortnite. They're like, okay, we should make our own store and start making money off of it, like Steam does it.
I mean, that's why Unreal is such prominent in like the game development scene. Like Unreal's always been a thing with like Unreal 3 and stuff like that, but when Unreal 4 started kind of kicking in, it's like, oh, this is nice, this is kind of better. They fixed some other stuff until they started putting in stuff because Fortnite needed it. Like that game started doing bigger jumps and people were really doing some amazing stuff with it. And now with Unreal Engine 5 out and stuff like that, just kind of like does stuff that you didn't even think was even possible. And it's all because, kids are buying V-Bucks. They're trying to get them character skins. Like literally it turned a company around to be something completely different, make it a Titan. Man, one of the only companies that said Apple, no, I'm not doing that.
No.
That's how much money they thought they had, but that's how much money they obviously got when they're telling Apple, the platform, no, I don't want to sell stuff to yours. You're taking my money.
You're taking too much of my money. But yeah, like I even saw the report of like, because Epic's gotten so big, they bought like a little like abandoned mall that they're gonna make their freaking like headquarters. It's like, what kind of company goes, we're just gonna buy in a complete abandoned mall area, break it all down and make it our freaking headquarters. It's like,
why not? You find more often. It's just sad to say. Like some malls today have a hard life. Like some malls today just don't. And it's weird. It's all like, well, I don't think we all stopped shopping. Like I don't like Amazon that much where I don't want to go to the mall. Like Amazon doesn't sell everything that the mall has, so it's weird that they just they're slowly dying. Unless they're like the prominent for that city, like the Galleria Mall here in Dallas or the North Park Mall. Like those malls will always have people, but they're never going to be a part where it's like it's completely full. Like I never really seen like those malls be like completely full to where you can't shop there anymore. But yeah, those actually surprisingly died off. But I'm sidetracked on dumb stuff. That is one of the things that I kind of noticed about that. There's another question I want to ask you. Is like, because I know with your situation, my situation, how do your parents feel about it? About you still like playing games now?
They finally come around to it. Like it's probably my dad not so much stuff like that, but my mom, it's like I've shown her stuff like I'll show her like my favorite like podcaster or like YouTuber and be like, oh, it's like, what does he do? Like, oh, he talks about games in this way. They review them. They do a stream like this where it's live, and it's like, oh, well, that's pretty cool. I was like, and they also do like they'll have streams for donations for like a charity and this and that and stuff like that. She's like, really? I was like, yeah, and they'll raise this much money because this much people are watching them and stuff like that, and that's what they do every day. And she's like, oh my god, that's amazing and stuff like that. And so she's come around to it and be much better. And my dad's kind of been like, oh, okay, whatever. He's like, you play games, whatever. It's not the idea of like, oh, it's gonna ruin your life. Like they would used to have that aspect. Now they're just like, oh, okay. You can make a career out of this, or you can do something out of this, or you're not just wasting your time.
Yeah, I think with my parents, I think they just finally give up. Because really, for a long time, like my parents were the stopgate, right? Like if I wanted a new console, well, mama, please. But I think it was like I think it started going downhill when like I just got my own job. Like I got my first job at Carmike, and I was like, I'm getting this job because I want the Wii, the PS3, and the Xbox. That's the goal for this job. Get all three consoles. I need to get $1,500. We're doing this, and I got it. And then I realized, but money's nice too, and I just kept going. And so it's just like there you go. The lifestyle is pretty much funded at that point. It's all like before it was all like, you don't need to have all this stuff. You don't need that game. You don't need all this. We're just gonna stop buying you all that stuff. And it's like now it's like, well, now I'm paying for it. What you gonna do? But now I'm like, okay, well, I actually have a career now, and I'm actually doing big things. So now it makes more sense that I'm more into this stuff like that. Like maybe they thought it probably would have died out a little bit more, which I feel like it kind of did. Like obviously, like back then, I'd be playing games for 12 hours a day. It's like, oh, I woke up, play games, go back to sleep. I'm not doing that today, right? Like there's no way. Those days. Yeah, there's no way I could tell Laura, hey, we're not gonna see each other today because I kind of really want to bake in some time. That's not gonna fly. But it is vastly different. But like I think my parents, they treat it like, oh, I don't understand it, but I don't have to understand it, kind of thing. I think that's where they're kind of at right now.
Gotcha.
I think they're just kind of proud of everything else that I've done in my life, and so this is kind of like the thing that I like. This is what I put my money into. This is kind of what makes me happy. So at this point, I'm 34. They can't tell me anything anyway. So like, why
You
fight
live
it?
in a completely different city too, so it's just like,
That too. They ain't gonna be coming over and be like, "Oh, we're gonna pop this out." Like, actually, this is my house, so don't touch anything in here. So
don't make me call the cops on you.
yeah. So I mean, I'm never gonna do any of that. But it's just the fact of the matter. It's all like now I have my actually own sanctuary, and it's all like yeah. So it's interesting because I think the evolution of games, or parents accepting games, has also something that's kind of changed over like I don't want to say the last like 15 years. I'll say I think 10 years is too short, but like over 15 years now that thanks to YouTube and kind of giving platforms to people and kind of getting games to be out there and stuff, like it's a lot more acceptable because now people are seeing the results of can it be a job? Can you get something out of it? Because before it's all like, oh, I'm just gonna play games till I became a game developer and I'll make games and I'll do all this stuff. You just wait and see. And it's like, well, you can't do that if you're just playing games. You gotta go. That kind of stigma's gone now. And now it's all like, oh, I can play games until people pay me to keep playing games. Like that's actually a legit thing. And you're like, this 16-year-old is making $100 a week. Now 1,000. What, I mean, they're literally just paying you to play? Yeah, I mean, once you get good enough, then people want to see you do dope stuff. And it's like, I mean, shit, I can't say anything. You're actually, you're actually kind of looking at it, so might as well, right?
Have you tried explaining, or have you had a conversation with your parents about like trying to explain esports to them?
I don't try to have a conversation explain esports to anybody. Like I'm not. It's like that's a whole different thing. Like, and it's a show and tell. You have to just show people because people don't think that esports could ever be the NFL. Even other gamers don't think that you can have the NFL Super Bowl next to like League of Legends World Cup. Like they don't think that these two things can be in the same world. They're not the same thing. These are real athletes over here. A gamer's not an athlete. We're not gonna cross that river. Like we're gonna always have them separate. And so I really don't bother to have that argument because it's like it is whatever you think. It's like as long as you pay the other people the same, like it doesn't matter. A sport is basically this organization of like-minded people doing a thing, and then there's a professional aspect to it. That's kind of how I see it. And it's like I don't agree with all sports athletes getting paid the ridiculous stupid money that they get, but I mean that's I also understand that these are people who are doing something for 5-10 years, however long that they need to do it. So yeah, they're getting money compensated for the fact that they might not do anything after the career is over. And I guess being older, I understand that a little bit more about like, you got these rookies that get like these millions of dollars, but they also have to pay for everything else. They got to pay to keep their body in this kind of peak condition and stuff. Yeah. But I'm also old enough to say, well, why are non-esports athletes not considered the same? Especially because they have to do the same. They have to practice. They have to put in the work. They have to put in everything else. And so, like I said, like I could talk to you about it and have a conversation. I really don't want to get into like probably like other conversations like with my parents. Like that's definitely like that's a few rivers too far for them to really go. If they ask for it, I mean, I'll probably talk about it, but I know they won't, so there's no point in talking about it, kind of thing.
Yeah, that's how I've explained it to, like I said, my mom's the one who's more understanding. And so like when like Damon would play Fortnite and stuff like that, she's like, what is this game? And you explain it to her, and she's like, so you just play it and that and it's free? I was like, yeah. And like, but there's also like this competitive side to it, and like explain it to her, and I showed like a couple of YouTube videos, and she's like, oh my god, it's like a real sport. And I was like, yeah, like they treat it exactly a real sport, because you're like these people, even though a lot of them are kids most of the time, or teenagers, like they're putting in the work. I was like, I started explaining to her like the Overwatch League, like they have facilities where these players go in like the cities that they're in, like Orlando, Dallas, Los Angeles, stuff like that. And like they go there and that's all they do. They practice, they do this, just like a NFL player has to go to training camp, do that stuff, and then even on their off season, they still have to practice and play and stuff like that, and then they get paid for it. And like explaining it that way to her, along with like showing the video, she's like, "Oh, I get it. Like, I get it." She's like, "Oh, cool." So since I had that conversation, I was wondering how it would have gone, or if they had ever asked you.
Yeah, like I said, like it's one of, even for what I do for work, my parents understand is part of a genre, but they don't really understand like the intricacies that I do. And that, I'm at that point where it's fine. It's hard for them to be like more involved because of it. Because like if you don't really know about anything, it's hard to really get involved. Like I don't
Yeah.
know enough about cosplay to get involved and know if like what you're doing is correct or like how to figure it out. And so that's kind of like how I treat it the same way. Is like I'm too far removed for them. Like I could give them the synapse, the description, but they're more likely not going to ask anything more than that. So it ends up just not being a conversation.
What
Um,
what do what do your parents tell like their friends and stuff that you do as your job?
I mean, I like they know the company I work for. All they have to do is just throw that out to people. Honestly, like
You gotcha.
it's a lot. It's a lot easier because people have the perceptions of what you do for certain companies. Like if I said I work at Facebook, like people have an understanding. Like you're doing something
Gotcha.
Facebooky and stuff. They don't really have to go that far, but because the name carries so much weight. And
Yeah.
so, like when people do kind of explain me to other people, it's normally like, "Hey, I work for X company." Right, and it's like, yeah,
Right.
like I work for that company. And it's like, oh, okay, it's like, do you know that? It's like, cool. And if
Like, oh, it's
not,
a good company to work for.
yeah, like,
Yeah.
and if not, it's like I do IT stuff, which I don't, but it's that I'm not gonna really argue it. Like I did
Yeah.
some, like to kind of get into it, but I wasn't like an admin or anything, right? So it's just like It's easier to explain my job at the highest level than it would be if I tried to explain the actual intricacies of like what's a consultant. Like when I was a consultant, like how do I explain someone what does a consultant for this company is like, and it gets boring, and it's like it's interesting to me, but I'm a person that would probably over explain a lot of stuff
Yeah.
if I notice that the person who's listening to me doesn't get it. Like I will find that middle ground, and I that's more of a deterrent on me, but I understand, right? It's like, oh yeah. So when they explain to me with other people, it's just like, oh, he worked for X company, and it's like, oh, okay. That kind of really ends the conversation there because nobody really pushes that much, unless there might be like, oh, well, my son might have some involvement, and it's like, oh, my son's doing something similar. Maybe they can talk, and it's like, yeah, okay, and I'm always willing to help people. I'm always willing to kind of lend an ear, talk about like where they could go with their career and all that. Like helping others in that kind of aspect. So like I don't mind anybody like calling my phone. Doesn't mean I'm gonna have my phone public, but like I don't mind people
Right.
calling me up, and like I'll get a conversation. I'll listen to what you're doing now and give what I think will be a good, way of kind of tackling that. Like I mean I talk to you about like coming to your school a lot because I really do like the fact that you're pushing for it now. After like a
Yeah.
lot of the years that like you were kind of back and forth, the fact that you're continuing stuff, I like to be involved in that. I like to know that you're kind of pushing forward, so I really like that. And I ended up just treating other people like that. That I know that they were in the spot that I was in that I hated, and so I want to help them. I can't magically create them a job, but I can say like, this is what I did. This is the BS that they told you that you need to cut out. Yeah, like
Yeah.
I like giving those kind of straight answers because they're just some things where it's all like, I know what you're doing. You're a lot more closer than you think you are, but it's really confidence, and this is like confidence is the thing that gives you confidence, because that's always the same thing I see with everybody, including myself. Don't have the confidence in what you want to do. It's hard to show the confidence when you finally get the interview. Like getting an interview is fine. Like you just try to put your resume to many jobs, you're gonna land one. But if you're trying to like actually get past the interview, it's really confidence is really kind of what it comes down to for a lot of things. So yeah, like I said, that conversation kind of really dies pretty early when it comes to like certain things.
Gotcha.
Well, what about you? Do you how do you explain to people like what you do and everything?
The best way I've been explaining it, especially when it comes to like my parents, they're like, "Oh, well, what are you going to school for?" It's like, you know how you're watching this show or that movie, or you're watching the news. Yeah, see how it changes the camera to this to that, or how this all of a sudden changes and it's a different scenery and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, it's like that's what I'm doing in the background is I'm putting that together, cutting out the extra stuff and putting it all into a piece so that what you see is there. And they're like, oh, well, is that like a something that could be sustainable? And I was like, well, you're always gonna everybody's always gonna have to be entertained or watch something. So you just gotta find the different outlets, and there's different ways now, especially with like streaming and YouTube's, etc. Like there's so many, there's so much more stuff that I could do, and at the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean that I have to move to a big city and stuff like that, far away, anything like that. I could actually just do it from home, you know what I mean, or from like somewhere else that I actually want to live and stuff like that. Because like there's those options now. And they're like, "Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense, yeah." And they're like, "Oh, like, they're watching news and it's like, oh, that's gonna be you." I was like, "No, I'm like, I won't be the person on the news. I'll be the person behind the camera." I was like, you see those shots where like it'll be like the news person, like the news is about to end and it just pans out and you see the whole background that's all in the dark. They're like,
Hmm.
yeah, and you see like the person holding the camera. They're like, yeah. I was like, yeah, that could be me because that's what I'm aiming for. I don't want to be the person in front of it and doing everything
Yeah.
right there. I want to be behind it or at a desk and putting it all together or like hitting the buttons to be like, okay, we're gonna switch it to this camera now. We're gonna switch to that camera, stuff like that.
See, if I was in your position, I would just say video editor. Honestly, like, oh, I'm a video editor. Like, I edit movies and videos and stuff like that. I probably that's how I would explain it to other people if they ask
That's
me.
how I do it. But like with my
Yeah,
parents or like older people, you say that and they're like, well, what do you mean by editing? It's like,
yeah,
okay,
that,
so
yeah.
then
Because
that's
like
how you put it.
when you were explaining it right now, it sounded like you were more like cameraman and stuff, and it's all like, oh, well, man, like me who has like some knowledge of what you're doing is like, no, I probably video editor would kind of sound safe because I can't say, oh, I make movies because then you find like, oh, what movies have you made? What movies have you been part of? And it's all
Right.
like, I mean, I'm making them. I don't have a final product yet. Like I don't say like I'm a like I say like I like developing games. I like trying to work on that stuff because I like have like, maybe like one game, but I try to do more game dev stuff on my own time, but I don't really publicly go out and say like I'm a huge game developer or
Yeah.
like, oh, I breathe game dev, like, because it's like, oh, once I actually start putting out more titles then I'll feel more comfortable with it. But that's why I don't really throw that title out. It's easier to say, oh, I'm a software engineer, like,
Yeah.
or it means that, like, especially now that I can say like just straight up software engineer, like I code. It's like I write, I code programs and stuff like that. Like it has been a lot easier than trying to explain people like, oh, I'm a consultant, or I was architect on this project, or like, oh, like architect like building homes. No, like actual architect for like software. Like
Yeah.
like it's harder. Like I don't really try to explain a lot of that stuff too much anymore. So that for like being a software engineer just makes it a lot easier. Like because there's some into that, and I have to, some people I got to explain, but I think everybody has like a universal concept of what that is.
Yeah. That's the
So
one thing I they tell people because they're like, oh, so you're gonna like be in the movies? It's like, no. I was like, I'll be the person behind it, and because like from a lot of the things, like a lot of like luckily the school I'm going to has had a lot of like people who are actually in this industry and stuff like that, and there'll be people who are like, "Yeah, I'm an editor, but I'll also like pick up side jobs, working the camera for this production, or doing this for or work or being the light guy for this production and stuff like that." They're like, it's like the best thing to get around and like to make this job like a successful career is like learning all that stuff and being able to do it, because a lot of times especially when it comes to editors, they usually like to just do one editor for like one movie or one editor for like a one episode of a TV show and stuff like that. So if you can do the other stuff as well, like if you could just get into the production side of it, then it's gonna be so much easier for you to get jobs, being more well known and stuff like that, and it's easier for you to network and be like, okay, I could get this guy for this job, or oh, I know a guy who he did a great lighting stuff for this show. We'll bring him on and stuff like that. And it's like, okay, cool. So that's really good to know. And luckily, like my school's been teaching all that and stuff like that.
yeah, that's actually a good question to ask you. How has gaming been? Because now it's you're doing that for school. You also still have your other job that you're still working, and gaming. How hard has it been to kind of like really kind of make those work now? I mean, you like Damon's what 12 now? Like how old is
Yeah.
Damien? Yeah, he's like 12 now. So I mean, you kind of been doing the parent thing for a while now, and now you have the parent thing. You got you know trying to now advance your own career. You still working every day, or as much as you can. How has gaming kind of gotten away some stuff when you try to introduce it back, or Is it like, oh, because all the other stuff happened, gaming just has a hard time kind of fitting in, stuff like that?
I found myself enjoying a lot more simpler games, like things where I can just like, because gaming has always been that thing where it's like that's my love and passion to just enjoy, and like I have the most fun doing stuff. And so like the one game I got really into, probably way too much into at one point, was like a Loop Hero,
Mm.
because it was one of those games that it's similar. It just kind of plays on its own. Like you just go around in the loop, you run into the enemies that pop up, and it does the fights on its own, stuff like that. All you do is just pick up the loot, add new armor, new weapons. You get little cards to like add to the map and just like change it up and stuff like that. Like the terrain and stuff like that to like bring out other monsters to get to the final boss. So it's like, oh, that's great because I can just play it. It loops on its own. I can kind of turn my brain off because work sucked because of this. I had to do this for my son for school, and then I had to, like, you know what I mean. I had to do this homework for school. I had to do this homework as well. So now, what do I want to do? I just want to shut my brain off, and sometimes I don't have the mental capacity just to like even like watch a TV show because that seems like it's just too much for me. So I was like, okay, what can I do? Oh, let's play Loop Hero, or uh like Hades is kind of that game for me right now. Like
Hmm.
it's just like, oh, it's just kind of like a hack and slash. You choose your weapon, and once you go into the dungeon, you just, you know what I mean, whatever loot you find, you grab it, you add it on, you move on. Okay, I died, whatever, go on to the next thing. You know what I mean? Do
Yeah.
it again. This is easy for me to do.
I remember making fun of you because like you would always watch like one or two anime a season, and I'll just be like, dude, like there are 20, and like at least
I'm
five
still
of them
like
are
that.
good. But then like now I come to the realization now where it's like even though I'm watching kind of like the same, I'm not watching one by one. Like I like it's better for me to already get caught up. Unless like it's really good, then I'll blaze through it. But I've noticed myself, I watch two and I'll pause and watch a YouTube video. Like
Really?
I started that, and it started creeping up just recently, where it's all like, yeah, I know I have the other anime, but it's not like the exciting one. Like I was like, oh, I like
Yeah.
it, I don't hate it, but like it's not like Overlord, or it's not like those ones that was like, yes, I want to watch what happens. I've been waiting for this, so I'll put it on the back
Yeah.
burner for a little bit, just to, have my brain or look at it, a video or whatever, listen to a video, and then I'll come back to it. And I've realized I've been doing that more in the last two seasons and stuff. So I was like, well, I'm still watching a lot more anime, but I've actually dropped some anime, whereas like that first episode, like that was garbage, man. That was not like
That didn't
I'm
catch
above
on.
this. Yeah, like I'm above this now. I shouldn't, or like that's just not my genre. Like it's just, yeah, I'm not gonna do it. So
Yeah, like for this past season for anime, it was my choice between Spy Family or Love is War, because I love Love is War from the first season and stuff like that, and the second season, I was, oh, this is great. But then Spy Family came along and it just took over for me. So I was like, all right, I'll watch Spy Family as it comes out, stuff like that, and then once Love is War is done, I'll just binge watch it at some point. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Because that was just a fun, easy one that I could just binge watch, and I was like, all right, cool.
those two are hard to really kind of go one to one. I think what happened, like I watched them both, but I think because Kaguya-sama was on his third season, I was kind of like that too. Like, oh, like season two was kind of more of season one. It was still
Yeah,
funny, but like it wasn't different. So season three, I kind of was slight back burner. Like, I mean, I was still watching on that day, but I didn't have to watch it as soon as I saw it pop up. It wasn't until like the end of Kaguya-sama where it's like, okay, now we're finally getting somewhere. Like the story's changing now, versus like Spy X Family is new. Like a lot of the characters, a lot of stuff is happening. It's kind of funny, but it also started like kind of getting slower towards the end too. So it was
yeah,
like Kaguya-sama was kind of like, yeah, like I'm coasting, and then you're up here for like Spy X Family, and then they started kind of just doing this a little bit. But so I'm all like, no, those two would be hard to kind of pick between the two because you're not sure how they're gonna go. And with Spy X Family's like concept is like, oh, finally there's a new anime that's new, right? And
yeah.
it's like that you like, oh, I love all three characters and stuff, or for some
Even
reason
the
like,
side characters and stuff. Yeah,
yeah, like it's just funny, like versus like I five isekais this season. Like I still watch them all because I'm degenerate like that, but it's just like, oh yeah, like I understand like the isekai is not gonna bring me like a new thing. It's just I like the ones that just take the concept and do it well. It's like I'll watch
yeah.
those, but like isekais are just easier to watch for me. But I don't have to watch every single one. It's like, because I already know what's gonna
He's
happen.
kind of like the action flick movie in the theaters. It's not gonna get all the credit and all like it's gonna win an Oscar and stuff like that, but it's just really fun to watch and have a good time.
Yeah, and it's like you really like you get to a point where you're just waiting for like the one that's really gonna do it, not the one that's like, oh, I had to find out a different title for something. What other English words have I not used? And start just rolling D&D dice for words, to try to get a sentence together. Like it's like I like it because it's kind of like comedy. Like normally if you find your type of comedy and you watch anything that kind of lives in that comedy bubble, Isekai is just kind of the same thing. It's all like, oh, yeah. With overpowered main character, I'm all here for it. Main character gets bullied, I'm all here for it. Like, you just kind of like, yeah, I already know I know where it starts, so I already know where it's kind of going to end, and I already know, like, I can't get too attached to it because they probably won't have a second season of it, and if they do, I'm scratching my head wondering how they got the budget, but, because they'd be all like, y'all still don't continue all this other stuff, but this got 3 seasons? 3 seasons?
Yeah.
I heard they're doing a season 2 for, I went to another world with my smartphone. I know that's not the title, but people just call it the smartphone Isekai one. And it's like, that was getting the second season. And I'm sitting there like, where do they find the money for that? But it's like with everything else coming out. And it's like, Chainsaw Man, I got to wait till October? Yeah. It's like, like before we get too
Are you excited for Chainsaw Man?
Not as excited as everybody else. Because I really don't know a bunch about it, but that's on purpose. Like, I know it's going to be good. I know it's a shonen, so people are probably going to lose their mind over it, like every shonen. Yeah. So I'm just kind of waiting for it. Like, at this point, it's like, I'll just wait for it. I'll enjoy it when I watch it. Better be my season. I don't think it might be, like, the best out of the year, but I still looking forward to it. Like, I still like, I'll like it. If it's shonen, like, some shonens, they start off kind of slow and bad, but sometimes they're constantly, like, Black Clover really evolved the more you watched it and read it. Like, that one, I'm like full manga now. Like, it's like, oh, this has gone a lot different now that we're kind of like watching and all that stuff. So, like, I'm here for it. So I'm just thinking, like, is it a shonen? I'm probably going to be here for it, whether it's by choice or not. It's like, that's just how it is. Whether it's just by choice or not, I'm going to be here for it.
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with you for Chainsaw Man.
Yeah. But there's a lot of promotion for that one. It's a crazy promotion. So, I think this is a good question. Since I know you've been playing games for like a stupid long time, I've been playing games for a stupid long time. Which franchise has died out for you after all this time that you're like, oh, I used to play it all the time, and now I'm starting to wind down from it?
Oof. This one I have to think about.
Yeah, I'll probably.
I think it's a. No. Go for it.
Well, I mean, if you already have the thought, just go ahead.
It probably won't be a franchise, but if genres for me would have to be like fighting games. Like, I used to love playing fighting games, stuff like that, and now it's one of those ones that I want to keep loving them and playing them and stuff like that, but for some reason that I start playing it and then I just fall off way too easy. Like, something in me does not want to put the time into it anymore. Like, I bought Guilty Gear Strive on sale, and like I used to love playing the Guilty Gear series and stuff like that on the PlayStation 2 and everything like that. And like, it's like, all right, I bought it, I played it for a couple weeks, and like, it's in the back burner of my head. Like, I want to play it, and I'll go, maybe not.
I'm on you with that because like, and I think the reason why I'm not too mad about fighting games is because, like, if you play like a lot of anime fighting games, they don't really come out very frequently. Like, and sometimes you don't even know if they're coming out or not. Like, every time like Blaze Blue came out, it was more like, oh, something ticked me off of it, but I didn't know if it was actually coming out like normally. Yeah. And normally it's always like, oh, there's a collector's edition for it. I'm like, here's the money. And that's kind of like the only time that I would even like put money towards it, because it's like, oh, I love collector's editions. But yeah, like fighting games, I'll play for like a month or whatever, depending on what it is. But I think half of it is because some more time sink. Like, I played Marvel vs. Capcom 3 and Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 for as long as I did because I wanted to put the time sink in. Like, I really like these two games, and And it was like, oh, I love it. Like, you finally get your characters. I mean, me and your friend were like back and forth at it at your house for like a while. And it's just kind of like, oh, and it's nice when you're playing against somebody who's better than you, because you're actually having fun at that point. Like, you're actually like, oh no, I want to get like, I was close. I want to get better. Or like, you're starting to now put like all those combos and stuff to practice instead of like just doing them online and kind of doing it in an echo chamber of yourself. And I like, so like for fighting games, I understand that, because it's like, yeah, some fighting games you play it. Same thing with Strive. Like, I played the story, I played all the other things about it, but like, the way that it does the mechanics, I'm no putting all my money for it. I like when other people play it. Like, I've seen some of like the crazy stuff for Blaze Blue, but there are just some games that I feel like they're too slow for me. Like, Street Fighter is a really slow fighting game for me, where like you have to be a lot more precise in the movements, and it's not button mashing friendly. It's hard for me to really want to put in the time, and I don't have a fight stick, so I can't put in the time like everybody else is doing it. And so it's like, oh, I'm always like PlayStation only, controller, blah 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 and stuff. Like, I still haven't had the chance to buy a fight stick. The only fight stick I own is the one for Injustice that works for all the WB games. Yeah, I still own that fight stick. But that's the only time I ever like busted out. It's like, wow, even for like Mortal Kombat 11, it still works.
That's dope. I do want to get into Street Fighter 6, because Street Fighter is. I was really into Street Fighter when it came to 2, Turbo, Alpha 3, and I was really big on 4 as well. And then 5, I never got into, one, because I didn't have a PlayStation for a while. And then even when it came to PC, I was just like, well, it's been out for so long. Like, if I jump into it, everyone's just going to kick my ass. You know what I mean?
You know, I actually saw Maximilian talk about that. Is like, normally people who don't get into the game early and they want to get in later, because they know, like, yeah, they're going to charge me $60 and it's not going to be a fair price when it comes out. But then like Ultimate version comes out and it's going to be $40 and it's going to have all this content, and they're going to try to get you to go back in. But you're going back in where people are already been training for like 6 months to a year, and you're trying to fight these people that are just kind of like bronze doesn't exist. Like, now it's all like, you're bronze, no, you're gonna die. Like, the match pairing sometimes isn't like the best, especially for like the more off fighting games. And I think that's why I kind of like DNF Duel, even though I know DNF Duel has some other issues and stuff with it. Like, I like the fact that everything feels like it's overpowered. Like, some characters are more overpowered than the others, but I feel like everybody has like their niche that makes them good. But there are also other things like, oh, their storyline could be a little bit better. It could be a little bit more interactive with it. There's other stuff. But if I were to buy the game later on down the line, when there's like 30 characters in the game, would I like even play it for as long as I'm trying to play this one now? And I think that's kind of like a good good aspect of like, yeah, you're really gonna fall off pretty easy. But I actually still like fighting games because I'm still buying them. So it's like, even knowing all that, I actually still buy them.
I'm excited for Evo. It's this weekend, right?
I think it is. I think it's late too. Like, I thought it would have come out a little bit earlier than the year, but I think with all the other events that have been happening stuff, probably the best time for it to come out.
Yeah. What's the franchise that died for you? For
me, it's kind of really easy. Honestly, it really comes down to Pokemon.
Really?
Because like the difference between when I would always play Pokemon to like not playing Pokemon again, like I've always chased the feeling of going from red and blue to silver. Like that transition of like waiting for the next Pokemon game and it being everything that you ever wanted from it. Like, I love chasing that feeling, and like I miss it because it was like, oh, that's when I really didn't have a lot of money. Like, me gathering up every penny, anything I could find to try and quote unquote buy this game, when you know like your parents are probably gonna help you with like the rest of it. But just the fact that you're getting in, and then like, oh, in 30 minutes this game's gonna be in my hands. In 5 minutes this game's gonna be in my hands. In 30 minutes this game's gonna be in my console. Like, it's, you know, you're just like, that excitement is
any
like,
special edition or anything I could get of the game I want to buy.
Yeah, but the excitement of like the next version is here. Like, it's here. I could play it. You chasing now, but you never find it now, and that's I think that's what hurts, because Pokemon has gone on for a long time, and the thing about Pokemon is it does stuff today that's to me is still kind of inexcusable for what Pokemon is and what could be put behind it. I start thinking like I think about what Warren said, like Pokemon really should be more of an action fighting kind of thing, where instead of being just regular RPG and stuff, you should be able to control the Pokemon. You should be able to like A, jump, B, slap, like do all the moves, stuff like that. And at first I'm like, yeah, I would like that. I'd probably like it for a separate game. But then I think like, oh, now what if the game evolved to that? What if the game was really like, yeah, like we're actually having a fighting Pokemon battle, like it's lasting 30 minutes because like you're actually duking it out with sick Pokemon. And I guess my expectation when I'm older like that, like Pokemon has not got to that point. Like it finally got to the 3D world, and I remember I was really excited for Pokemon to be in that 3D aspect. But you're still looking at it like it's a 2D game. Like yeah, maybe some other stuff got different, but you're still playing it like it's a 2D game. You're still playing it like you're just a regular like basic RPG, which in a lot of cases I do like, for depending on what the game is, as long as everything else makes up for it. But like you said, attention span is a lot harder when no one's talking. It's a lot harder when you notice like the Pokemon that actually come out per game is starting to become smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
And they're starting to not really connect games to where like, oh, I can get a lot of my older Pokemon back. So now you're gonna kind of realize, oh, every Pokemon I put my heart into it, like I can't really use it. And the next thing, or they cut a service for it or something like that. And it's just kind of like when I play that game, and then it just sounded like, huh, God, like nothing's really here for me, and then it hurt a lot when you kind of realize that it's like, oh man, I really wanted more out of Sword and Shield. Like I really, not just like the cool Pokemon. Yeah, everybody loves the starters. The starters they put the most money into. That's cool. Oh, let me get a new type of Pikachu or whatever. Well, who cares? But it's just like when you're not doing anything else with it, it becomes a really harsh thing. And maybe that's just kind of like my thing of like, oh well, I mean, sure, like maybe I'm expecting more out of it than I should, but I'm all like, Pokemon started in 1998, and it's 24 years old now. The game franchise itself, not like anime, is a completely different whatever that's trying to do over there, but like just the game itself, the same game company making like 10 generations of this game, and it felt like it barely got the graphical update. Like even then, like when Sword and Shield came out, it was older graphics from the other Pokemon games. So I mean that they weren't even trying to really like make this thing like explosive new experience. And it's like, well, they're still trying to make it to where younger people today can play it. And it's like, yeah, but younger people to play today are playing Fortnite. They're playing games that are stimulating. They're playing games that are like the game mode is 5 to 10 minutes and they jump into the next game. Like that's the type of game that they're playing. They're not playing like, oh, let me calculate my EV values and stuff. Only old Pokemon players are gonna really kind of be in that mindset of like, I need to get the right breeding. I need to get the right, like I need to catch the right Pokemon with the right like feelings. Like
I fight it with the right type of Pokemon and stuff.
Yeah,
like
like try to sell that to like a kid today, and it's like that would be impossible. Like it's harder for them to get all the concept that it's gonna hit them later on if they don't do it now. But it's like, no, because they're just gonna play the game, because that's what they're here for. They're here to play the game and beat the gyms and all that. And I think the Sun and Moon, where they did try to change it up a little bit of like, can we change up the gym situation a little bit to be something different? And it's like, okay, I can see where it's going with it, but I wasn't too fond of the change. But I played the game. Like I went and beat it and all of that. But when you go into the next big game and you're just kind of like, maybe like I can come back to it, and then you don't. That's when I realized, man, like this game has been with me for a long time, and I'm starting to just like, that's why like, you asked me, like, yeah, I want to play the new games, but I hate to put it down after 30 minutes.
Yeah, I'm kind of putting like all my baskets into the Scarlet one because like Arceus got my attention. Like the open worldness and stuff like that, but there was also things I didn't like about. Okay, I was like, I see where they're going with this, and then So I didn't buy it because I'm like, let's see how it comes out. Let's see how it goes. I'll wait to see if I'm gonna get it. And then they announced Scarlet and Violet, and I was like, oh well, it's pretty much the same thing of Arceus, but in a quote unquote modern time instead of being in the past, and
Mm,
it's more towards the formula of Pokemon, but you can see they're trying to change it. I
yeah.
was like, I think I'm gonna get it when it comes out, put time into it, and hopefully that will reignite that spark in me for that game.
Yeah, because everybody says that thing with Pokemon Legends Arceus. It's like it was in the right direction. It just didn't commit, right? Like
Yeah,
it was there, but it didn't really commit to everything that it actually could have done. And I kind of fully agree on it. For someone who hasn't played the game, obviously, like I can't really say like I'm the best expert at it. But when
right.
you watch 20 people say the same thing that are playing the game, you kind of feel like you have formed a better opinion about it. Like they did something new, it was kind of working towards it, but they really need to do more to make this game somewhat different. And to me, I feel like they're changing some aspects, but not like the main gameplay core aspects. Or there's some stuff they don't do fully, like character customization. Like they were slowly introducing that in some
Yeah,
aspect, but you could tell they didn't go all in. Like there could have been like a whole lot more things you could have dressed your character as, very early, and like the concept of it. You can make it to where both boys and girls actually have a lot of outfits to get into. Not the girls being like, yeah, the girls have 100 million things they can dress in. The guys are like blue jeans, white jeans, black jeans. It's just like you
and
want,
a bunch of different T-shirts. That's it. Just
yeah,
T-shirts.
it's like to the point where it's all like, yeah, why pick the boy character when you know the girl's gonna have like 30 different accessory items that you can be as, and
For
it's
real.
just like, yeah, like it's just having that concept and going further with it, knowing that like that concept is making money for all these free to play games. It's kind of weird for me that like this game won't do it, and that's what I think. It's not that it's I'm expecting a new game to have all this new stuff. And honestly, if there was a Pokemon game that was kind of like the kind of Pokemon game I think should be created, it'd be very hard, like if they don't sell it as Pokemon, for me to even notice it.
Yeah,
But I'm not gonna hold them to the fire. I'm gonna hold the Pokemon Company, Game Freak. Those are the people I'm looking at,
yeah.
being like, hey, y'all have to be tired of making the same game, the same way that I'm tired of playing the same game. And
The
that's why
crazy thing too, though, is like it's still they're still selling really really well, and I wonder if that's what's stopping them from trying to change it so much.
I honestly thought Pokemon Go would have died a long time ago. And it's still
That's
going.
going
People are
strong.
still playing. Like you could do more stuff into the game. And when that game came out, yeah, I was doing it a lot. It got me out the house and got me walking around the university more than I did when I was actually attending classes. But
Being there
it is.
1 in the morning, going to eat pizza like at 2 in the morning before
Yeah,
they
it's
close,
all
so we can
like
keep going.
going to the west side because like, yo, Dragonite's there. I could bust it and I could drive.
Yeah,
I just gotta drive over Franklin Mountain to be 30 minutes, whatever. Like, it's just the funny part of it. It's all like it got me out, but that game I thought was gonna be more of a gimmick because, after a while people were gonna stop playing, but the only
yeah.
person that stopped playing was me. It's like people were still playing the game, and it's like, yeah, just like a fresh concept of the same thing kind of works out. But now it's like, well, how do we make the main game bring me back? And that's why I say, if there's any franchise, I know some I probably have died out with that I don't remember them, but it's probably because they didn't have like a long shelf life for me. Pokemon is just like Super Smash Brothers itself, like Persona. When the game comes out, I own it. That's kind of what it is. It's like the game came out, I bought it. Like the game defined me buying the console. Like Super Smash Brothers
Yeah.
defined me buying a Switch. Like to the point where like, oh, I kind of wanted to buy a second Switch so me and Laura can play. And at one point I did have two Switches, but I was like, no, that's overkill. I just only got the second one because it was the Pikachu and Eevee one. So like I saw my old
Oh,
one.
okay.
So that's the only reason why I even got it. Like I don't have the OLED version because I was like, there's no point. Like they didn't
Yeah,
do
same here.
everything for that version, especially now with the Steam Deck being out. It's like, if I'm gonna buy something, I'll put more money and save more money for that thing and get that one day.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, no, it's hard. Like when I think about other franchises, like really, that's how much Pokemon mean to me. Is that I wanted Pokemon to grow up like I grew up, And I guess that's the best way to kind of say that is like I wanted Pokemon to grow up the same time I did, and that way I could play the new version and be able to compare. But now I'm just comparing the past to what it used to be, and the person that was excited about it in the past isn't here today.
I also think like there's never been that moment of like when you go from red and blue to gold and silver, and you have that moment where you meet like your old character, you meet Red, and then you battle him at the end. Like I haven't found any other Pokemon that I ever played where it was like that epic of a moment.
That too, there has not been a game for Pokemon that allowed you to go through all the regions. And I always thought that would have been a thing at one point because
Yeah,
that was such a big thing about why Gold and Silver was better than Blue and Red. Because if it wasn't for that, they'd probably be kind of even. But the fact that you
yeah,
can take on Johto and then get all the badges and you're like, oh, you're not done. You actually just played half the game. We're going
yeah,
back to Kanto and we're going back to like part two because it was Gold and Silver were Pokemon 2. That's basically what it was. It was the
yeah,
second Pokemon after the Pikachu edition. And you got, so yeah, all those moments of fighting Red for the first time and knowing, hey, this guy's actually a different person, but he's actually a real person that you get to go against. And it's like, that's such a big moment that they just didn't do again.
I
Right? And
thought
it's
they were
like,
gonna do it. I thought they were gonna do it again with either Black and White 2, or Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon 2,
mm-hmm.
and they never really did that. Kind of, they just added more to the same thing, but it was the same thing. It didn't change it up.
Yeah. And I just thought that would have just been like a nice DLC thing to do. Like, yeah, okay, Violet and Scarlet come out, you do the main game, you get like the cool Pokemon and stuff. But for you to actually get the other Pokemon, we're gonna release the Johto update, and now
Yeah, that'd
you
be
just
dope.
graded like gameplay for oh yeah, now I'm in it. I'm gonna go to Johto.
Yeah,
Everybody's playing that. Everybody's moving on. We find the new Pokemon. Oh, now the Kanto, now Hoenn, like all these other places like opened up. You're thinking like, well, isn't that the way to kind of have a game continue? Just like, I mean, Assassin's Creed does that today. Like Valhalla, like brings
yeah,
up more content that it's just extension of the game afterward. Even some of the stuff that like I don't really care for it, but they're real extensions to what I play. And so it's like, oh, like, I'm not going back to like the older games, of course, because they all happen in different timelines. But I am extending the gameplay with these different type of DLCs. So I'm just like, again, I don't understand why Pokemon isn't doing this versus like other franchises.
I think it. I personally think it's just because for some reason they still like crazy. There's just something about it. I don't know what it is for like a lot of fans like us and stuff like that are like, okay, we want that updated game, that grown up version in a sense, where it's like not to say it has to be like mature and stuff like that, but it's just it's evolved. No pun intended. But
And yeah, I say that too. Like, I think one of the biggest things is, I think if you look at it at data, is probably like that too. Like, if you, the only way to really look at something objectively is look at the data of what's actually going on. And a
yeah,
lot of times, cause yeah, like if you want to block out what people are saying, like you want to block out what I'm saying, like you're just gonna go based on the data. Like, how many copies did we sell, and who do we sell it to? Where did they sell? And it's like when you start hitting like, oh, I actually sold 1 million copies of a game. At that point, you're thinking that you're doing what you're supposed to do. So it's like,
yeah,
yeah, like there's no other feedback to tell them outside of like, either do like a Twitter thing, which, that's probably doesn't work against a Japanese company as much.
yeah.
And, or just other stuff because, yeah, like it's just kind of like, what else could you do? What else could you express your feelings outside of just not buy the game? And I think that's kind of like what I came down to. It's like, the only way I could tell them is I didn't buy the game, but Pokemon makes so much money that it's like even with all the backlash from Sword and Shield because of that, it was still one of their most selling titles for the
Yeah.
franchise. And it's just like, yeah, like well, maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Maybe I'm not doing stuff, but it's like I don't have the data. Like I don't understand like how they come to their conclusions. All I know is you made the same game 20 years. Like you have to tell me that you're tired of making the same game.
And like from Arceus to Scarlet and Violet, they have the resources to be able to do two different games. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because they had Arceus that came out, and it's like, okay, Arceus came out, so you probably won't get another Pokemon game for another year or two. And like, oh no, it's a year getting Scarlet. Oh no, so you have the resources to make a completely, quote unquote, completely different game that maybe more people are looking for. and still make the one that makes your bread and butter, but
Mm-hmm.
you're just for some reason they're just not doing it.
Yeah, and I think half of that is because, like, I mean, you make the same game, you have an engine that's obviously pushing out the same game. You're only updating features of that engine. You're not necessarily like they're not going to go to Unreal if they don't
Yeah,
have
for
to.
real.
Like it might be a great move, but they're not going to abandon 20 years of like whatever game engine that they were working on. And because yeah, that's the only reason why they can make two versions of the game, because they probably have particular tools and pipelines in order to kind of do that. And after a while, it's just like bread and butter. Like there's a way to be like, oh, just turn off this flag for this and turn on this flag for that, and then make sure the game's just published that way. But well, how do I don't want to say it? Just the interesting part of it is just kind of like, yeah, like after a while, it's like, yeah, I understand, but I mean, one thing I liked about Insomnia games that, like, you know, who made Spider-Man and all that,
Spider-Man.
is that they do make them with the same engine, even though like the games are different genres and stuff like that, but they do
Yeah.
make it with the same engine, and they do make tools that kind of help with that game that make that game different and stuff, but then those tools could be used for the next game. To me, that makes more sense. But it's all like, oh yeah, we're building the same type of game because we have an engine that really favored towards that type of game. Not that, oh, it just favors Infamous. It just favors the Marvel Spider-Man. It's just, it happens to work really broadly over stuff.
Sunset Overdrive walks so Spider-Man could run.
Basically, that's a really good analogy. Like a lot of the fun things with the Sunset Overdrive, and now you're like, oh wow, the new Spider-Man is actually really good because it's built on the experience of everything that they've done.
Yeah.
So why is Pokemon not doing it? Like it's all like they're building just the same game. So okay, and I think I talked about Pokemon a lot. So I think I finally got that out. I've been holding that in for a while.
It's a good soapbox.
Yeah, it really is. So I think I'll probably end it with as far as your habits, because I know you kind of asked me earlier. Like we kind of touched on a little bit. But as far as your habits of like gaming now and stuff, like what are the biggest things that really changed today?
I think my biggest thing is I have a hard time doing like playing on a couch on a TV gaming. I like playing at my computer desk and stuff like that for games and stuff like that. Like there's even times where if I pick up my Switch and stuff like that, I'll pick it up and I'll just sit on my gaming chair and just like lean it back a little bit and stuff like that. I can't sit on the couch and play it anymore. Or I don't have a big TV. I have a 55-inch, but sometimes I feel like it's too big for me to keep track of everything compared to a 27-inch monitor.
Gotcha. I have not get into PC gaming hard enough to really like truly enjoy all this. Like I got me a 3080 Ti, but it was mainly so I could do gaming and editing. Because I wanted to do more game development on here. I wanted to do more video editing for YouTube. So that's why I kind of got it. But I really wanted the 3090. And if I could have, I would have gotten the 3090 over it. But it's one of those things where it's like mobile gaming has really got its hold on me. And it really has captured what
Gotcha.
like I said, like Epic 7, and I'll tell you how crazy it is. Epic 7's on both of these things. When this one dies, I play it on here.
No way.
Yes, it's all like so. This is how I'm able to fully test some mobile devices and stuff because I have a benchmark of like how long can I play Epic 7 for on these things, and like how long does Epic 7 kill it to where it's like I can't use it anymore. But I have it on there on both devices, and I'm all like, do I need it on PC too for easier gameplay? When the other two die, or I need to use my phone for a phone. It's like, but it's like mobile game has that hack. If it's on the Switch and more like it, like if Persona 5 was on the Switch, I probably would have played it more outside of like, I would have hated the graphical like fidelity. I was like, no, like I need to go back to PlayStation. But there are some stuff that like now that we're starting to get into that new age of bringing the AAA to the mobile life. Now we're starting to get in that new age of like, okay, I could continue playing the game because with Xbox I could play it on phone, and they're all sharing the same account or whatever. Like I'm playing the same instance of the game. It's just moving it from device to device. And now you could play Game Pass directly on the Samsung 2022 TV.
Yeah.
That like you just need to go buy a $60 controller, and there you go. Like you don't even need the console at that point. So I think like it's
All right.
starting to hack
I
me a
mean, hold
little
that
bit.
thought. I'm gonna check what my dogs are barking at. Be right back.
All right, cool.
All right, I'm back. Sorry about that.
It's all good. It's all good. All good.
They're just barking at the TV outside.
No, Shoto was barking at something downstairs too, and I was like, I don't have food up here, so it must not be me. No, our dog has been very lazy and finding different parts of the house to lay down on and kind of just pass out on. Like we're now catching him in the bathroom, just laying in the bathroom, just like, this is cold, this is nice, and it's dark, and it's like, why are you trying to hide from the sunlight? It's like, I understand hiding from outside, but he's literally like in the guest bathroom, hiding like by the tub and just laying down.
No
And
way.
he's like, he just loves it. And it's like, okay, you know, the dog's starting to experience different parts of the house a little bit different because he liked being in our bathroom, but we understood we're also in there too. But now he'll just like leave the room and be over there, and it's like, okay, well, I wonder what got him to do that all of a sudden. That's kind of funny.
That's funny.
But I think that's a good part. I actually kind of close it there. Honestly, that was kind of like the last question I kind of wanted to kind of get on there. We've kind of brought in a
Yeah.
lot of other topics and stuff, but it's a good. I think this is a good establishment of what we're trying to do here. Is like, yeah, we kind of ventured off to some other topics, but the thing that I think that's kind of really big about this is that a lot of people change their habits over time. A lot of people change what they like. They get into different things. They get into things they didn't think they would have liked before, and now they kind of get more into a lot of stuff. But sometimes, people don't really double down as much as when they get older, or either if they double down, it's because they're trying to cut off other stuff. And I think it's just a really nice concept of like, after a while, people who just play games are still trying to find ways to play games, especially when we were younger. It was like, hey, you need to stop playing games, go get girls or whatever. It's like,
Yeah, right.
we have accomplished still getting significant others and still play games. So far we were on the right path of whatever we did. But it's
We're
nice
winning.
but it's nice to know that the stuff that we've done in our lives, we still have a love for games. I do feel like I expect more out of some games. But I
Yeah.
won't say that I hate playing games at all. I never felt like I had abandoned games. And
Yeah.
so I just have games with like different requirements I have to do now. So one of those requirements is I do have to see my wife here and there, and probably now say sorry for not being with her for 2 hours. And that's just kind of something I have to kind of, live with nowadays. But I'm probably going to still play Spider-Man later on. It's all like, good, you're asleep now. Now I have free reign. But I hope, thank you for kind of doing this with me. Thank you for kind of
Yeah,
wanting to
thank you.
actually kind of go on this journey. And, for everybody out there, if you kind of like what we're doing, kind of like the topics that we're talking about, don't be afraid to kind of reach out to us. Like, what do you want to hear? So we have some other topics kind of planned out. I think Friday is probably going to do this. Probably Friday at 7:00
Yeah.
Central. I think we'll probably just be good. We'll just kind of stick that at Cadis. We will change it to, I think, YouTube, unless we can stream to both platforms. I'll figure out how that works. I know there's a way to do it, but once I get the YouTube platform going on, then we'll figure out how to do it. to where they're working on it, but we're going to be taking it kind of slowly, kind of with all the tech stuff, but we're going to try to keep out having the episodes for everybody, talk about the next thing, and we're hoping that you're here for it. We're hoping that we can kind of get people involved and share their experiences in the chat, talk about the stuff that they kind of talk about and stuff, because as you see here, we could definitely talk about like one topic kind of stretch. So I'm really kind of interested to see what else that we're going to be able to talk about, whatever we can dive into. And hopefully we get more people on the call with us to kind of really go into those either too, because we do want to have people with different backgrounds. And we know our shared experiences are vastly different. Me and your lives are vastly different, even though we both lived in El Paso. And I want to be able to meet other people who just have like that slight difference of how they were able to basically accomplish or do what they're doing to do and still love playing games. So if you want to look at more, we'll see you next Friday. We'll probably put it on YouTube. We'll think about how to do all the other stuff. Right now, we use just Discord and everything, so we'll try to figure it out. But we'll try to find some way to let people know when we're going to have the next episode. But if you do watch this in the future, thank you for coming by and watching this video, from, us from the past. Thank you for coming up. And we really do appreciate you for coming in here. Thank you for watching our first video, and we'll hopefully see you for the next one. My name is DuShaun Williams. This is my friend, Christopher Moncada. And, well, maybe that's kind of it. See you.
Yeah. Thank you, ladies.